podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the premier networks, coast to coast, several hundred wonderful stations on Sunday, December 12th, 2021. This is episode 1852. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Wealthfront. To start building your wealth and get your first $5,000 managed for free for life, go to wealthfront.com/techguy. And by UserWay.org. UserWay ensures your website is accessible, ADA compliant, and helps your business avoid accessibility-related lawsuits. The perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. It's not only the right thing to do, it's also the law. Go to userway.org/twit for 30% off UserWay's AI-powered accessibility solution. And by CashFly. Give your users the seamless online experience they want. Power your site or app with CashFly's CDN and be 30% faster than the competition. Learn more at twit.cashfly.com. Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, space. We got a lot coming up. A lot. This is going to be a jam-packed day full of goodness. Car guy Sam Abuelsamid coming up in just a little bit. Next hour, we will talk about photography with Chris Marquardt. Then the following hour, we're going to talk about space with Rod Pyle. In between, I'll be taking your calls. 8888 Ask Leo. A jam-packed Sunday extravaganza. 888-827-5536. One of our chatters, Kalia, says, it sounds like I say, idiot. Idiot, ask Leo. I am definitely not saying that. Okay? I don't know why you hear that, but it's not. It's 888, 8 as in the number, 888-827-5536. Or if you prefer, idiot, ask Leo. The website where we put all, James DeRuvo writes this all down. He puts it up on the website, techguylabs.com. Techguylabs.com. Thank you, James. What else? There's a chat room. I call them Team Tech Guy. If you have a browser, you can go to irc.twit.tv or use an IRC client. That's the old-fashioned form of chat. Predates even AOL's Instant Messenger. That's how old it is. Predates the World Wide Web. irc.twit.tv. Not my chat room. Well, let me think about this. It might, actually. I've been doing this for a long time. First started using chat in the early 90s, and it was IRC back then. Even then, IRC was kind of old. The World Wide Web was invented in 1989. IRC predates that. But I started doing that when I started doing this kind of a show. I hadn't yet earned the sobriquet Tech Guy. I was just a guy answering tech questions in San Francisco back at, I think that was B93, 94, thereabouts. And we had the chat room, which was, it's funny. I can't, now when I try to do something without a chat room, even brush my teeth, it's like I don't know, I need the feedback. How am I doing? So you can join us in the chat room and help me brush my teeth or whatever. 8888 Ask Leo. There, I think that's everything you need to know. There's a little bit of noise coming out these days. Remember when Apple, wasn't so long ago, was it? A couple months ago, iOS 15, maybe it was even 14.5, came out. And Apple started popping up that thing. You've seen it by now if you have an iPhone. Started popping up that thing that said, this app wants to track you even when you're not using it. Is that okay? And really, I think Apple, when it writes it, it's kind of saying it in its mind that way. Are you sure? Is that okay? And of course, something like 80% of the people who see that say, no, of course not. You don't. Why would Why would, Snapchat have to see what I'm doing with other apps? No, that's ridiculous. When I'm using Snapchat, that's one thing. It could, it needs to know perhaps my geographic location to put that on my Snap or whatever. That's fine. But not when I'm not using you. No, don't be ridiculous. So people say no. And Facebook was all up in arms saying, your Facebook, of course, it's going to hit their bottom line if they can't track you everywhere you go, because they need to know everything about you so that they can go to advertisers and say, I have a 33-year-old woman who lives in Virginia who is just waiting to see your advertisement. And the advertisers go, well, that's nice because I don't want to get a 34-year-old woman in Virginia. I only want the 33, that kind of thing. That tracking is very valuable to Facebook. So Facebook immediately, now they can't really say, well, it's going to hurt us because, nobody cares. So they said, it's going to hurt small business. Huh? Well, yeah, because those small businesses are advertisers on Facebook, they won't get the kind of granular information about who they're buying, what advertisements, who's seeing your advertisements. So I guess you could, it's not a complete lie to say, it's going to hurt small businesses. Except we're learning now, here we are a few months down the road, that it doesn't hurt anybody at all. It hurt anybody at all. 7 months we've had this. Just saw a study that said Snapchat's makers, Facebook, and others have found perfectly valid ways to get around Apple's Do Not Track. In fact, some are even calling it privacy theater. Privacy theater. It's like it's not real privacy. It's up on the pretend privacy. Of course, there's always been the issue that Apple could see everything anyway. They know exactly what you're doing with the phone at any time. That's called first-party information. What Apple was doing is blocking third-party information, stuff from companies not Apple. Google has proposed the same thing with cookies. No more third-party cookies, they said. Only we at Google, the great, not powerful Google, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, should know what you're up to. Facebook has plenty of first-party data whenever you're using Facebook, right? In fact, frankly, Facebook has a huge amount of data about you all the time because as you go around the internet, those like buttons, you see the little thumbs up buttons? You don't even have to click that for Facebook to know you're visiting that page. It just sends a little signal that says, Leo's here. You don't even click it. Just the fact that you're visiting that page sends a signal back to Facebook. So Facebook can collect information about people who aren't even Facebook members. Carl Bodie, writing in the Tech Dirt blog, which is all about privacy and security, he said, advertisers cried like a disappointed toddler at Christmas when Apple came out with this in 14.5. By September, this couple of months ago, researchers began to notice Apple's opt-out system doesn't do much anyway. It only really blocks app makers from accessing one little bit of data, what Apple calls the IDFA, the ID for advertisers. Just turns that off. But, as Carl points out, there are many ways for app makers to track you without that little IDFA. And that's exactly what they started doing immediately, including Facebook. They collect just, information about what IP address you're on, what your battery charge is, what your volume level is. There's all sorts of stuff. How much storage is left. And you might say, well, what do they care about how much storage I have on my phone? Well, you combine all these different points, and it's like a fingerprint. It can start to identify you more specifically. Like, well, Leo had 38% battery charge. He's got this IP address. His volume level's at 7. He's only got 23 gigabytes left on his phone. That's Leo. So essentially, that when you check that box, do not track me, it makes you feel good, makes Apple feel good, or make money, which kind of is the same thing. But it's actually not doing anything. Privacy advocates in the press noted, Carell writes, this is giving Apple users a false sense of security without really fixing much. Financial Times published an article which they said 7 months later, they said it in English accent because they're from Britain. 7 months later, companies, including Snap and Facebook, have been allowed to keep sharing user-level signals from iPhones so long as that data is, and I'm going to put this in quotes, anonymized and aggregated rather than tied to specific user profiles. So they don't know what Leo's up to, but they know what people like Leo are up to. Unfortunately, as we have learned, you can't really anonymize data because of things like, well, I know your battery level. I know how much storage you have left. I know what size your screen is. And pretty easy to de-anonymize this stuff. Carl says people use this as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Well, we're anonymizing it. No, but inside they go, yeah, they believed it. Yes. Apple's opt-out button, he writes, is largely decorative, helping the company brand itself as hyper-privacy conscious without actually doing any heavy lifting. Isn't that nice? I thought I'd just pass that along. Maybe I shouldn't. It's nice, just feel good. I think the real truth of the matter is everybody knows what you're doing on the internet. Just, unless you're taking extreme measures, more than any normal user would be willing to take, everybody knows what you're doing on the internet. So, chill, man. Until we get real privacy laws, until companies start adhering to those laws, not finding loopholes, none of which is going to happen anytime soon. You might as well just assume. If you're on the internet, Facebook, Google, Apple, all know what you're doing. 8888 Ask Leo is a phone number. Just sounds kind of down, doesn't it? I mean, what are they doing with that? All they're doing is selling advertising against it. I mean, it's not. I mean, okay, so maybe, if police ask, they could say, well, we know where Leo was on the night of December 10th at 3 p.m. We know exactly where he was. I guess, it's that kind of thing. What are you going to do? 8888 Idiot, ask Leo. That's the phone number. Give me a ring. And again, when you hear something on the show, you don't have to remember it. I'll put some of these articles up on the show notes. I'll give them to James to do that. He's the guy who does all the work. So that you don't have to write anything down. It's all here for you. Doctor, I need 999, which doesn't do anything in the U.S. This guy must be from some other country. Hello, Kim Schaffer.
Idiot works.
Yeah, once Golly has said that, now I can't stop hearing idiot, ask Leo. And I think it's me that's the idiot. Maybe I'm just taking it too personally. No. 8888. I'm going to say that very carefully. 8888. Ask Leo. Apparently, according to Knox Harrington in our chat room, 999 is British for 911.
Oh, okay, then
it makes sense.
We know where that artist. Who is that?
Who is that artist? Who is that, Professor Laura, musical director.
Nick Lowe.
Oh, Nick Lowe.
Oh, Nick Lowe.
What? Mick Lowe? Or
Nick Lowe.
Nick Lowe? Is that like Duplo? All right. Who should I? I'm sorry. I'm a little punchy this morning.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Who should I talk to first?
Let's go to Jan in Manhattan Beach. Wants to, when you buy an appliance and they always try to sell you on the extra warranty.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like that, but
kind of
not.
like that, but not.
Kind of like that, but not.
All right.
More with her website.
Thank you, Kim Schaffer.
You're welcome.
Hello, Jan from Manhattan Beach. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Hey, Jan. I hear you.
Say good. I had to renew my domain names with Google. I did.
Yes, they're a domain registrar.
Yes, remembering that you said okay to go to Google and then maybe do my website with somebody else.
Yeah, I like doing it that way because then you're not held hostage. So if when you go to GoDaddy and register a domain name and do your website and you want to move, now you got to move two things. But if you have it registered, say, at Google and your website's at GoDaddy, you just tell Google, hey, I'm moving to WordPress, and that's all you have to do. So what's going on?
Well, what they added was the full domain privacy and protection.
Yes.
For $20 more.
Oh, well, you don't want that. Actually, you might want that.
Okay, what would it have done? They said if I did, I would be half my website and personal info would be made available to the world.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking that they charge $20. I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you. One of the reasons Google Domains is popular is because they're relatively inexpensive. How much was the price of your domain?
The domain was $38.
Well, that's per year.
But this is it would have. That's for 2 years.
2 years, so $19 a year. Okay,
Right.
so a .com address should be around $10 a year. So Google, okay, I'm going to now change my attitude about Google's domains and say, well, maybe they aren't the best pricing. And honestly, in my opinion, they should also give you domain privacy for free.
Yes.
So here's how it officially works. Google is what they call a registrar, which means that they have been approved by the International Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN, which is a non-governmental body that oversees the internet. They're the ones that keep the big phone books. There's 13 of them. They call them the DNS servers that match domain names to IP addresses. That's how it works. Somebody will enter in their browser jansgreatwebsite.com, and then their browser will look it up in the big phone book and say, oh, that's 164.3.9.2, your actual phone number, and go there. It needs that number, not the name. And the beauty of that system is you can easily change hosts and have a new IP address, but it'll still be janslovelywebsite.com. So that's why that works that way. So domain registrars are basically affiliates of ICANN. ICANN approves them, and they can charge whatever they want for the domain name. I don't know what the actual ICANN fees are, but it's under $10 a year. So they can charge whatever they want, but all they're really doing is connecting you up to the ICANN thing. Now, the way ICANN works is the name of the administrator, the support, all those email addresses that are really all just you, Jan, those all are public. They're in a public directory. Who owns this website needs to be public, according to ICANN. So what registrars do is they sell Whois privacy. Whois is the directory search thing. You could say, who is Jan's lovely website? And it'll give you the owner. And normally that would be your name, your address, your phone number, your email. But most people don't want that to be publicly available. So they use Whois privacy. And that is a service that then when somebody looks up Jan's lovely website, they get redirected to that service. And if they email that service then goes, oh, we'll send that on to Jan. So they're hiding you. Shouldn't cost that much. Should not cost that much. I'm thinking of we have a sponsor, hover.com, that does domain registry, and they throw that in for free. So I'm a little disappointed that Google's think they have enough money that they're charging extra for it. Do you want it? Yes. Unless you're using, as I do, a post office box or a business address and a business email, and you don't care if people know that. But if it's your home address and home phone, definitely you should use privacy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So, does that answer your question?
Pretty much, yeah.
Are you sure you're going through domains.google.com?
I'm going through Google, yeah.
Domains.google.com. Actually, it's domains.google. There's no .com. Domains.google. Because they own the .google.
I got a receipt from them.
Yeah.
.com domain renewal, and it's Google.
Huh. Boy, I did not realize they charged that much.
Yeah.
Domains start at $7 a year. Email forwarding, privacy protection, one-click DNSSEC, Google two-step verification included. So I'm wondering where you actually maybe ignore that. You see, you can't. It sounds like it might be a lie. That it might be somebody posing as Google, because it's easy for them to see you're registered at Google Domains. So did you send them any money?
I paid for it. I had them take off the two.
Log into your Google Domains account.
Okay.
With your Google account.
Yes.
I think that was not Google.
Okay.
So that's, that would be actually wouldn't be surprising that would be a scam, because it's easy for them to see who has domains registered at Google, then send a spoof email saying, oh, by the way, $38. What is it? Don't tell me the domain name. What's the dot after the dot?
.com.
Oh, no. That wasn't through Google. That's way too expensive.
Wow.
Go to domains.google.
Okay.
You can move it over there. Boy, that's puzzling that somebody's posing out there as a domain registrar. That bothers me.
Me too.
Yeah. If you go to domains.google, that's the real deal. Not .com, just domains.google.
Okay.
Because they own .google. And then there's a button on the page that says transfer a domain you already own. Maybe you should do that. Because Google does not charge for Whois. They shouldn't. Yeah. And they don't charge that much. They charge $8 a year.
Okay.
That's something else went on there. It's possible you do have it registered there. Somebody noticed that, sent you a spurious email that looks like it was from Google saying, hey, you got to renew. Time to renew. And then that was a lie. Let's see. Here's a .com. It's $12. This is Galia sent this to me. And it says there's a checkbox. For $12 for 1 year, privacy protection is on. So whoever's charging you that $20 extra a year is not your friend. And not Google.
Wow.
Unless you have, well, it's a .com. No. You can, now it's time for you to do the Whois. If you type in the Google Whois and your name, one word, Whois, and, the name of your website, it will give you the Whois record for your website. Actually, it won't, will it? You need to still go to a Whois site. But you can look up your domain and see what registrar it is. And if it's not Google, it probably is Google, and somebody's just trying to get you extra money out of you, I would guess.
That could be, too.
Yeah.
I can also challenge it with my credit card company.
Yeah, well, you want to figure out what it is first, make sure. But it doesn't sound like Google, to be honest with you.
Boy, great info. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I'm glad you did. I've had this conversation with Abby before. Abby sometimes will say to me, I want to buy Dogecoin. I've mentioned this before. Dad, I'm ready to get into crypto. I said, Abby, how's your retirement savings going? She said, what retirement savings? Abby, my son too, he's doing quite well. I say, you're putting money aside for your old age because guess what? You get old faster than you think. Or maybe you're saving for your kid's college fund or a house. It's fine. It's fine. If you want to play the market, and be diamond hands and buy stonks, okay, fine. Day trading is fun, but it is not a path to wealth building. So put a little fun money aside, that's fine. But really what you got to be doing is growing your long-term wealth for your future. I am so glad I did this. You should too, with Wealthfront Investment Account. Today. Do it today. Team up with Wealthfront. Investing is complicated. Whether you're a beginner or you've been investing for years, Wealthfront makes it easy. They do what the experts say you should do. And what I love about Wealthfront is all you have to do is say what your goals are, what your risk tolerance is, give them some guidance to what makes you comfortable, and then they have the right tools for every portfolio. You answer a couple of questions, and they'll create a portfolio. And this is important. Listen to this carefully. Globally diversified, low-cost index funds, personalized for you. Those are the right words, the words you should be listening for. You can build your own portfolio, too, if you want, with clean energy funds, crypto trusts. You can get into crypto, too. Tech, hundreds of other investments. They even offer a socially responsible portfolio. This is one Abby would love, a mix of funds built around human rights, climate change, sustainability, diversity, so you can feel good. No manual trades, no picking stocks, no watching the stock market every day. It's exactly what wealth building requires, slow but steady. They automatically handle all the investment, and they do things, you control their preferences, risk aversion and things like that, but they do things you probably wouldn't do, maybe even your fancy, advisor wouldn't do, things like tax loss harvesting to make sure that you offset your gains with tax losses, to maximize your portfolio. They'll rebalance it automatically on a regular basis. Everybody says you should do that. Nobody does it. It's all the right stuff, and they do it automatically for you. It's not a surprise. Wealthfront is now trusted with $27 billion in assets, helping nearly 500,000 people build their wealth. Get your first $5,000 managed free forever when you go to wealthfront.com/techguy. All you need is $500 to open an account. That's it. Grow your wealth the easy way. Let Wealthfront do the work for you. WEALTHFRONT, wealthfront.com/techguy. To start building your wealth, get your first $5,000 managed for free for life. Go to wealthfront.com/techguy. Wealthfront.com/techguy. This is what you ought to do right now, whatever age you are, but the younger you are, the better. Start building your wealth with Wealthfront. Wealthfront.com/techguy and get started today. I love these words. Globally diversified, low-cost index funds personalized for you. That's it. That's exactly right. Wealthfront.com/techguy. Now back to the show. It's time to talk cars and automotive technology with Sam Abuelsamid, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights and host of the Wheel Bearings podcast, which he just did this morning at wheelbearings.media. Before we get to your segment, Sam, I just want to mention, talking to Jan off the air, I think maybe that was a phishing scam because Google's domains, if you're getting a .com, about $12 a year, including who is privacy. So this $38 for 2 years and another $20 for domain privacy. That ain't Google. So maybe that's a phishing scam or something like that. But Google, I always thought domains were among the most inexpensive. Google's domains are at domains.google. And yes, they do include privacy. So you shouldn't have to pay extra for it. Sam is sitting in front of a beautiful vehicle that Tesla wants to call the Cybertruck. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Leo. So, we've probably all seen the Cybertruck at some point or another over the last couple of years.
This was the best product rollout ever, where Elon Musk wants to show that the windows are bulletproof and drops a bowling ball into it, and it goes crash. It smashes, and then
just to prove that it really was, they did it again,
and it smashed again.
Broke 2 windows,
and then the poor guy, and I shouldn't say poor guy, richest man in the world, has to stand in front of the broken glass for the rest of his presentation. They apparently really didn't think it would break. Anyway, that was kind of a memorable event.
Yeah, and that was just about just over 2 years ago. Yeah, just over 2 years ago that happened. Yeah, there's the video. It's actually Franz von Holzhausen, who's the head of design at Tesla, who tossed
their excuse
big steel
was
ball bearing.
It worked in rehearsal, and maybe we weakened the glass after doing it too many times. Oh, lordy. Okay. So the Cybertruck is still not out anyway. So
no, and it probably won't be for at least another year, probably into early 2023. From what we've heard, the Cybertruck is supposed to use Tesla's new, larger 4680 lithium-ion cells. And they are having some difficulties with scaling up production of those, and so they're not ready to build this thing yet. And they've also had to do some re-engineering. But the reason I wanted to talk a little bit about it today is not so much about the Cybertruck specifically, but one of the questions that I often hear from people is, you see these really wild-looking concept cars at auto shows that, oftentimes really cool-looking. And then, a few years later, you get a production car, and it's like, it doesn't look so much like that concept car did. There's a few little hints here and there, and I wonder, why don't manufacturers build the concepts? And some new photos came out this week. Somebody was flying a drone near a Tesla facility in California and spotted what appears to be a new Cybertruck prototype. Prior to this, we'd only ever seen one example of the Cybertruck, which was the same one that was at the reveal event 2 years ago. And that one, when we saw that, had no side mirrors, had no windshield wipers, was missing a lot of stuff that you kind of need on production vehicles.
More than need, are legally required to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if it wasn't legally required, you definitely need them. You need to be able to see
that windshield wipers.
See out of the vehicle.
Yes.
And so these new photos of this prototype, among the more notable features, in addition to the addition of the mirrors on the side, is a really huge windshield wiper.
So one wiper for the whole giant windshield.
Yeah, one big one that stretches all the way up along. If you were sitting in the driver's seat, it would be stretching up along the left-hand side, along the A-pillar. And in fact, when you look at it from other angles, you can see there's actually two separate wiper blades on there, because nobody makes a wiper blade this long. and
this is so Tesla. They just nothing like anybody else does. That would be a mistake. Yeah.
And this is an example of why production vehicles often don't look like concepts, because a lot of things that designers will do on a concept just don't translate very well to production. Like in the case of the Cybertruck, it's got this shape. It looks like a giant stainless steel doorstop, and when you look at it in profile, there's basically a straight line that goes from the front edge of the hood all the way up to the peak of the roof, and then it slopes down from there back to the back. So it looks like a triangle. The result is that you have this windshield. Most cars, you look at the windshield is roughly rectangular. So it's not as tall as it is wide. And you typically have two wiper blades, one that's mounted on in the middle and one that's mounted off to one side. So you clears usually about 80 to 85% of the windshield area. Well, because the Cybertruck windshield is basically flat and also square, you need to have a really long windshield wiper blade to sweep all the way across.
I should point out, though, this is a drone photo of a vehicle in the parking lot. Could very well be. It's no more a release version than the prototype was or the concept was. This is just something else.
Yeah, well, I mean, it looks in a lot of ways very similar to the original one that we saw. I mean, there are some other subtle differences.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't mean anything that you're seeing this in the parking lot. Thank you very much.
True, but
I wouldn't waste a lot of energy on it. Maybe when the Cybertruck comes out, then we can say, "Oh, interesting."
Yeah, I mean, the indications from Tesla have been that they will retain most of the design of the original truck, the original vehicle that they showed. And if they do, I mean, this is one of the things that they're going to have to do. And because of the proportions of the windshield, you can't really do two wipers like you normally would, because they would be clashing into each other. In order to reach all the way up to the top of the windshield, you need that long wiper arm there. And also the other problem with it here is that in the parked position, the wiper blade is up along the A-pillar, so it's parked vertically, which means that when you're driving along, normally you already have a bad blind spot at the pillar there, and now it's going to be even worse because you've got this wiper arm there, and you can't. Again, because they've got this continuous surface from the hood up to the peak of the roof, you can't really park it. There's nowhere to hide it down at the base of the windshield like you do on most cars. And so it's going to be sticking out there, and it's going to cause a lot of aerodynamic drag if you parked it horizontally the way you normally would. So this is the kind of challenge that designers have trying to go from concept to production vehicles. Another example that you often have is, you'll see cars on a show stand that have rear-hinged back doors and no B-pillar, so the so-called suicide doors. And, almost never do you see those actually make it to the production version of the car. They always revert back to normal front hinge doors. The reason why they do the concepts that way is so they can leave out that B-pillar so you can actually see the interior of the car when it's on the show stand. They want to show off all the cool stuff they've done inside, but they know they can't actually build it that way and pass the crash requirements.
So really the purpose of a concept vehicle, especially when you see them at trade shows, is to cause buzz, not necessarily to say anything about what the final... In fact, many concept vehicles never make it out the door, right?
Oh, yeah, most don't. Although in recent years, we've seen fewer of the really outlandish concepts, and more of what gets labeled as concepts is really just a lightly disguised version of the production vehicle. Yeah.
Well, they just tweeted, Volkswagen just tweeted that they're going to make a camper out of their electric Buzz. So I hope that's more than a concept.
Oh, that's definitely coming. They confirmed that they are going to build the ID Buzz camper.
I love that idea.
We don't know if the camper version is going to come to the U.S. market yet, but it is going to be available elsewhere.
They call it the California version. It better come to California. Yeah. Sam Abuelsamid, principal researcher, Guidehouse Insights. Listen to his podcast if you love talking about vehicles. Wheel Bearings. It's wherever you get your favorite podcast. Wheel Bearings. And, of course, Sam joins us every week. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Leo.
Lisa laughs at her Chevy Bolt. She calls it a clown car because the windshield wipers go like this.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, maybe that's because it's so small. I'm sure there's an engineering reason for it.
Yeah, the Bolt and some other cars have the pivots for the windshield wiper arms at the outer corners.
Right.
And when you do that, you actually get more of the windshield area that's swept by the wiper blades. Oh, and that's the other thing too about this design with the
because the passenger on this thing is going to be staring out the rainy window.
Yeah, at least a quarter, maybe close to a third of the windshield the windshield isn't even going to be swept by this wiper blade.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, again, I mean, who knows if this is.
Yeah, I mean they may come up with something entirely different, but
right.
I mean the problem is you have the challenge of this oddly shaped windshield, and how do you keep it clean?
That's the question.
So I mean there isn't really a good solution for this.
I'm going to assume, but I may be wrong, that the designers of the square windshield realized that this would raise an issue and thought about it. Maybe not.
I wouldn't necessarily assume that. The designers may have. Elon might not have cared.
Yeah, right. That's part of the problem. God, I'm seeing all sorts of horrific stuff about full self-driving.
Yeah. Well, and also I was on TNW earlier this week with Micah talking about the fact that they're allowing games to be played on the screen in the car while the car's in motion. So Tesla's had video games in their infotainment system for a number of years now. And, that's fine, if you're putting it there, or Netflix, for example, so while you're sitting at a charging station for half an hour or an hour, you can play some games. You have something to occupy your time.
Right.
But what you don't want is you don't want it to be activated while the vehicle's in motion, because you don't want the driver either playing games or being distracted by passenger. Tesla said,
right.
We're doing it so the passengers can play, except that it's right there in the driver's visibility, and you shouldn't be doing that while the vehicle's in motion. That's just bad design.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
You gonna do your usual thing?
Yeah, I can do that.
Do that thing you do so well.
All right. So let's see what we had here. Oh, somebody was commenting. Neander Bear says, I'm surprised Tesla doesn't use blown air for wipers like some aircraft. Aren't there cars that already do that? No, there are not any cars that do that. And actually, if you look at aircraft, aside from things like fighter jets, if you look at certainly any airliner, they all have windshield wipers.
Really?
Every airliner out there. Yeah. If you look closely, if you get a close-up look at the cockpit area, they have windshield wipers. Because the problem with blown air, especially for a car, maybe a little bit less so for an aircraft, is you can blow a lot of the water off of there. But when you get beyond water, if you get mud spray, or if you live somewhere where you get road salt being used, that road salt sticks on there. Bugs, you're not going to get splattered bugs off your windshield with blown air. Frankly, most of the time you're not going to get it off with a windshield wiper either. But windshield wipers are far more effective than blown air. One area where we are seeing air being used, though, is on some of the autonomous vehicles to help minimize the impact of bugs and other debris on sensors. So they're using basically air curtains to try to deflect things away from the cameras and other sensors. And then when they do get really dirty, you still have a wiper blade to clean them off.
Hang on. You want to be here for the top?
Sure.
Hang on. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number. Thanks to Out of Sync in our chat room for giving me the exact link that I should have given Jan to do the whois lookup on your domain. So if you have a domain, you want to make sure if you think that it's from Google, that it is from Google and not somebody else. My suspicion is she registered the domain with Google, but then she got email from basically a scammer who knew that she had a Google account and said, well, we're going to send her what looks to be email from Google saying you owe us money. And I hope Jan didn't pay. I think she did not. She was concerned. What am I getting? As she should have been. So, Jan, here's what you do. And anybody who needs this is good to know. Lookup.icann.org. Remember, I said ICANN is the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. ICANN.org. And if you go to lookup, as in look it up in the phone book, .icann.org, you can enter your domain name and you'll get all the information that ICANN has about your domain name, including the registrar's name. And that's what you want. You want the registrar's name, and it should say domains by Google, Google or domains.google, domains by Google. If that's the case, okay, good. Now, the good news is you can see if you have privacy because you'll also get contact information in that lookup, including registrant, admin, technical, billing. For an individual, that's going to be well. And I'll give you, if you want to try it, I'll give you an example. You can do it for leoville.com, which is my one of my websites, leoville.com. That's registered at Hover, so you should see under registrar 2 Cows, which is the owner of Hover, as the registrar information. But if you look in the contact information, you'll see it says Contact Privacy Incorporated. And there's a reason for that. Actually it doesn't matter to me because I'm pretty sure I register every domain with my business address anyway. But this is a good example. You'll see the email is leoville.com @contactprivacy.com, which means mail goes to them first and then is forwarded on to me. The phone number is a phone number in Toronto, not mine, obviously. Theirs. Mailing address is an address in Toronto because that's where contact privacy is. So that means essentially my personal information is hidden. That's what you generally will want. And Google, according to, domains.google, gives you that as part of the price. And Galia just showed me what it would cost to set up a domain at Google right now, a .com domain. It was $12 a year. So Jan said she was paying $38 for 2 years. That's not right. And then they wanted an additional $20 for domain privacy. That's definitely not right. That'd be a total of $29 a year for something Google charges $12 a year. So my suspicion is it's either not Google or she did register it with Google, but now somebody's figured that out and has sent her a spurious email asking for more money. Don't pay it. Don't pay it. And what I would do, anybody who has a domain name, is look up your domain name just to see what's public information. Lookup.icann.org. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. Stanley is on the line from Bettsville, Ohio. Hello, Stanley.
Hello, Leo.
Hello,
How are you?
Stanley. Welcome.
First of all, I want to real quick say thanks for all the shows you've done over the years because I've learned a ton, and I really appreciate it because we're on the verge of licensing something we've created to Ancestry.com real soon. So, and I'm all self-taught.
I hope you're going to make a ton of money, Stanley.
Well, I'll take you out to dinner if that happens.
Good luck. That's great. So you're selling, is it a program or what are you selling?
I guess it would be a program, but it's all internet-based.
Nice. Ancestry wants it. That's great.
Yeah, they have a great platform for looking back on your lineage and looking back at your family history. Ours looks forward. They don't have anything like that yet.
How could you look forward? That's the future, Stanley.
That's right, sir, but we have conquered it, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Not
wow.
necessarily looking forward.
Predictions?
I'm sorry?
Is it a prediction?
No, it's a way to leave message
Oh,
and messages.
I like that for your
family down the road.
descendants. Oh, I love that idea. So if they go to Ancestry.com to say, what did Grandpa Stanley do? They'll say, look, he left me a message.
Exactly.
I love that idea. No wonder Ancestry wants to buy it.
Well, I'm sure hoping we'll wrap up the loose ends with them real soon.
Congratulations.
But real quick, I have a 6-year-old grandson in Dallas, Texas. I'm up here by the Great Lakes. And I've got a message targeted the month and year that he should graduate high school. I hope I'm still here. If I'm not, June of 2034, I think it is. He's still going to get that message from me at what I look like and sound like today.
Oh, so it's an audio and video message. I love that idea. I really like that idea. I think that's so cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can upload your message right from your smartphone. You can make a message or delete it and add
neat.
to it or whatever. Yeah, we're really excited about it. But I want to thank you because just being self-taught, I've had to go through a lot of hurdles and learn a lot of my own. So I thank you because you're one of the few people I've learned a ton from.
Oh, Stanley, you're welcome. I'm thrilled that it's working out. That's great.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Real quick question. Got a Dell 24-inch all-in-one that I love. This has been one of my favorite PCs. I use it in my home. I have a studio on the back end of the home, but I use it in the home. But I'm going to be swapping out a 1 terabyte hard drive for a Dell-supplied 2 terabyte hard drive. And I'm crossing my fingers when I ask you this question, Leo. Back in the day, I thought I knew that you can't transfer or clone your programs over.
Well, this is a different situation because you're not changing the computer, just changing the drive. So if you were taking the drive from the old Inspiron and putting it in a new computer, that would be problematic because the new computer has different hardware and different drivers. But in this case, my strong suggestion, in fact, Dell will almost certainly provide you with the program to do that. When you buy a hard drive, almost always the company that makes it, and there are only a couple left, Western Digital, Seagate, Toshiba, have all been merged together. But they will at least give you a link to a drive cloning tool. And so the trick on that is to hook up that new drive to the old computer and clone the internal drive out to the external before you put it in. And at that point, it should operate exactly the same because it's the same computer. Programs will go with it. Everything will go with it. Nothing's changed. You've just essentially swapped the tablecloth. So the settings should all be the same.
Yeah. Oh, you've made my day, actually, the rest of my year, because I thought I don't have the software at hand on all the programs I use and all that stuff.
I don't know what Dell does, but my guess is Dell will provide you with software that'll do the copy. And you're right, that's the problem. Now, that's one of the reasons I like, let's talk about the future. The modern world, you don't buy DVDs or CDs or floppy disks of your software. You download it. You'll log into an account at Microsoft or somewhere, and you can then download it and install it. And so going to a new computer is not nearly the hardship it used to be. But yeah, if you have a lot of older software that has disks associated or serial numbers associated, yeah, that's a pain. But this, because you're not moving computers, shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, great.
Hey, Stanley, when is call us back when you sell your program so we can tell everybody. I guess if you're an Ancestry customer, you'll see it when it comes out.
Well, we currently have 30, I think it's 3,700 and some customers just by word.
What's the website?
It is pictureyourselfremembered.com.
I love that. Pictureyourselfremembered.com. Oh, we left out a dash, did we? Oh, well, picture-yourself.com. All right, Sammy. Your turn. My turn to get a cup of coffee. Your turn to take over the Tech Guy show.
Okay, sounds good.
You already have your cup of coffee.
So,
that's only fair.
That's just water.
Oh, sure.
In the chat earlier, somebody had mentioned, and this is true, Tesla is not the only one that had an issue with video playing on the center screen in some of their cars while the vehicle was in motion. Mercedes-Benz on the new EQS, their new electric vehicle, their electric luxury sedan, actually announced a recall earlier this week because there was a software bug in some of them that did allow video to play on the large central screen in the vehicle. And that's not supposed to be the case. So they issued a recall to update the software in those vehicles so that could not happen. There are solutions to this idea of what Tesla talked about, which is allowing passengers to play games or to do other stuff, and that's to have a separate screen in front of the passenger that is polarized. Somebody mentioned Range Rovers had that they've had a system on some of their vehicles where the driver and the passenger would see different things on the central touchscreen. Earlier this year, Jeep launched the new generation of the Grand Cherokee as well as the Wagoneer, and one of the options you can get in there is a passenger side screen that's directly in front of the passenger, and it's got one of these privacy filters on there. A lot of laptops have these as well. That when you get off axis, basically you can't see the screen anymore, and so that's what Jeep has done, and some other manufacturers are doing that. Mercedes also has that on the EQS. They have a passenger side screen that has that sort of privacy filter on there. That would be a better solution. The other thing that you could also potentially do, which I talked about with Micah on Tech News Weekly the other day, was using a driver monitor system to make sure that the driver is not looking down at the screen, to monitor what the driver is doing and make sure that they are paying attention to the road, which is what they should be doing. That's a solution that could work. It's better to just not have that ability at all in the central screen. Have it off for screens for the passengers, but not allow it at all for the central screen, because if it's there, it can distract the driver. Let's see, user 3990, in regards to the batteries for electric cars, it would be interesting to know how many times you can charge, recharge, discharge the batteries. It would also be interesting to know what Ford, GM, Tesla do with the batteries once they reach end of life. I hear very little about that. So with current generation EV batteries, there's different battery chemistries. There's different flavors of lithium ion batteries. The most common ones used in EVs, most EVs today, especially longer range EVs, are nickel-based chemistries. So it's usually a combination of nickel, manganese, cobalt, aluminum, or maybe just nickel, cobalt, and aluminum. And these have pretty good energy density, but they're good for maybe about 800 charge cycles. And just as with your cell phone or any other battery, that would be a full charge and discharge from 0 to 100% and back. So if you do a partial discharge, if you go from 75 down to 50% and charge it back up to 75%, that would only be a quarter of a charge cycle. So generally, the batteries should be good for at least 8 to 10 years before the capacity degrades to the point where it starts to become less useful for a vehicle. There's also other chemistries like lithium iron phosphate, which is more stable and has much higher cycle life. It can easily go well over 2,000 charge cycles. And when we've heard Elon Musk talk about the 1,000,000-mile battery for vehicles, that's what he's actually talking about is iron phosphate batteries, lithium iron phosphate chemistries. The problem with iron phosphate, they're cheaper. They save about 30 to 40% relative to a nickel chemistry, but they also have about 30 to 40% less energy density, so you don't get as much range. So you're not going to get 350, 400-mile ranges with iron batteries like you will with nickel chemistries. As far as end of life goes, or even after they reach the end of their life in the car, once the initial capacity drops to about 70% of its initial capacity. So, let's say, if you had a 300-mile range initially and it drops to about 200 to 210 miles or less, that's where it's generally considered, mostly end of life, for use in the vehicle. But it can still have a long lifespan in second life applications. And this is where they take the battery out of the vehicle and use it for stationary storage, for example. And this is something we're seeing a lot more of for DC fast charging stations, as an example, because of the way electricity is charged for commercial customers, which is different from residential customers. They have what they call demand charges, and so if you go over a certain power demand, at any given time, so say you're rated for 100 kilowatts, and your power demand spikes up to 150 kilowatts, the utility will charge that commercial customer a hefty premium, what they call demand charges, because they have to build in extra capacity for those peaks which don't get used very often. And so what they're increasingly doing for fast charging stations, EV fast charging stations, is putting in batteries that they can charge asynchronously from charging the cars. And then when they have those peaks of demand, when the car is plugged in and needs that really high power, they can take it from the battery instead of from the grid. So that helps balance the grid. It helps reduce the costs for the charging station operator. There's a lot of other use cases for stationary storage, for backing up solar facilities, to store energy during the day when the solar panels are generating power, and then letting it back out during the night, or same thing for wind and other renewables. And then finally, there's recycling. Every automaker is involved heavily in developing battery recycling, working with a lot of partners. Redwood Materials is a company started by former Tesla CTO J.B. Straubel. They're working with Ford and others on battery recycling. And so they're developing recycling processes that can recover about 95% of the key raw materials, the things I mentioned before, like nickel, manganese, cobalt, aluminum, from batteries that are end of life that no longer have enough capacity to be useful, but now you can take those and recycle them, get those key materials out of them, and put that into new batteries again. So now you don't have to mine as much of the virgin material and process that. You can reuse that. Now, we haven't been able to do much of either second life or recycling up until now because there simply haven't been enough batteries in the field to do that. But as we get more and more EVs in the road that reach the end of their life, now you'll have enough scale to make those practical.
It's such good news that the Mach-E is such a success. How wonderful that is. I'm very happy.
They're pumping capacity from 60,000 a year up to 200,000 a year.
Yeah, I'm driving Lisa's Cooper Mini today, because she wanted to drive my Mustang in the rain, and I don't blame her. Thank you, Sam. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. All the stuff we live with every day. It's kind of funny because here it is, the most complicated device in your whole life. Used to be probably your car was the most complicated thing in your life. Now, I would say, the computing devices, and actually, I guess you have to include your car now because the car is a computer plus the car. These are really kind of the peak of technological innovation. It's amazing what these little boxes we have on our desks and these little slabs we have in our pockets can do. So that's what we talk about on this show. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. It's nice, I've been doing this since as I was talking about last hour, the early 90s. So it'll be 30 years. Is that right? Yeah, 30 years. I've been talking about computers, and now, of course, computers means more than it did then. It's nice I could still be in awe of what we've accomplished. And I guess that's because we keep advancing in so many interesting ways. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's talk about tech. Don's next, Southgate, California. Hi, Don.
Hello, Don.
Don, come to the phone. You know, it's very quiet. Don is very quiet. So I'm going to try. Let me put Don on hold and go to Carell in Los Angeles. Hi, Carell.
Hi.
There we go. Hi, Carell.
Hi.
What's up?
Okay. I install Arlo security cameras, battery, and wireless.
Okay.
And have a house, large property. So towards the rear of the lot, they popped in a TP-Link access point.
Cool.
Control.
Yeah.
Okay. Then next to that's where the garage is.
So the thinking is it's so far away from your house that Wi-Fi is not going to reach out there. So they're extending it using the TP-Link. Is that plugged into power?
It's PoE power.
Yes. Okay. So it's PoE, but the TP-Link. So TP-Link makes a variety of devices. It's powered, but my question is, where is its internet come from? Does it come from Wi-Fi, or does it come from? Is it an extender? Is that what they put in?
It's an extender because they also have a TP. Call it
but the power
antenna that goes.
So this is a little confusing. So it's connected to your Ethernet, though, right?
Yeah.
But the Ethernet is only connected to power, not to your internet?
That's connected to the internet.
Oh, it is. So it's it's connected to a powered internet router with PoE on it.
Right, but that's in the main house.
That's fine. And so you've got a big long Ethernet wire going out to that TP-Link.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now they next to this office, which is part of the garage, they have a cabana, and if you sit at the cabana with the computer, you could see an exterior antenna that has a Cat 5 cable going underground all the way to the house.
Yeah.
So when I'm trying to hook up the Arlo cameras, the cameras won't hook up to the system.
Ah, all right. So just to make sure I've got this.
It gets a little confusing.
Yeah, no, I think I have it, though. You have a PoE TP-Link extender, which is closer to the Arlo, and it has Wi-Fi. It's a Wi-Fi antenna, but it's getting its internet through your Ethernet. That's how it's getting power and internet. And so the Arlo should be able to see it. How far away from the Arlo is it?
This is inside, but it's like within 100 feet.
Okay, well, that's a little distant. It's possible. There's two possibilities. The Arlo, because, these are inexpensive devices, may not have the best Wi-Fi radios. It may just be beyond the Arlo's capability to pick up a signal. That's one possibility. The other possibility is very common with Internet of Things devices like the Arlo. They often don't work on 5 gigahertz. They only work on 2.4 gigahertz.
Right.
And I'm going to bet that whoever set this up, you have one name for your Wi-Fi network, right? You don't have one that says 2.4G and 5G. You have just one name.
No. Right.
So what that means is there are radios on both frequencies with the same name. And the Arlo may be saying, I'm going to join this. And if it says, I can, it's 5G. So that's the other possibility. And this is not unusual.
It is 5G.
The Arlo is not.
No, the Arlo is not. The
Arlo wants 2.4. So what I do in a similar situation, I have Ubiquity PoE Wi-Fi access points in my garage. I tell that only send out 2.4 gigahertz. It's just going to confuse the cameras when there's 5 gigahertz. So if your TP, is it the TP-Link used for anything else? Is it also used for the pool area?
No, that's only used for the office. They have.
So the TP-Link is intended for the Arlo and nothing else.
Pardon me?
The TP-Link is intended for the Arlo and nothing else.
No. For the computer, that's an office too, like a separate office. So it's used for the person that's in the office or computer system.
So what you could probably do, in fact, I would suggest doing this, is check in the TP-Link settings. You probably can turn off the 5G radio. Turn that off temporarily and pair the Arlo to it. The other problem with 5G, even if the Arlo can do 5G, it doesn't travel as well. And since 100 feet is right at the edge, it probably, even if it could see 5G, could use 5G, couldn't see it. So turn off 5G on the TP-Link. So it's only right now temporarily 2.4. Then try to get the Arlo onto it. At that point, if the Arlo joins it and it's working, you can turn the 5G back on. The Arlo won't switch frequencies.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It gets super complicated.
Yeah, I understand, but I kind of get what you're doing. It's actually a smart way to do it. There's two reasons the Arlo may not be able to see the Wi-Fi. One is its distance. The other is its bandwidth, its frequency. So check the frequency first. That's an easy thing to set. TP-Link will have a setting in there to turn off the 5 gigahertz radio. It should all work. If it doesn't, now it may be just that it's distant. You could try repositioning the TP-Link, moving it higher, moving it closer to a window, different things. Because radio is weird. You're 100 feet. Yeah. Nominally, 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi should go 150 feet. But that's nominal. You know, there's issues. There's stuff in the way maybe. The walls can be a problem. So you don't have to extend something farther out. You might just be able to reposition the TP-Link and get the Arlo working. But first, I'd try the frequencies.
Okay.
Nice to talk to you, Carell. That's a nice setup you got there. Is this your place?
No. It's a client's house.
Sounds like a movie star in Brentwood or something we're talking about here. No names.
In Pasadena.
Pasadena. Well, then, all right.
Yeah, one of the older homes, but it's a nice home.
It sounds very nice, yeah.
Okay.
Give that a try, yeah. And, of course, those movie stars, they're tough clients, you know. they just it's not working. 8888 ask Leo the phone number, but I'm glad to help. Radio is weird. RF guy in our chat room says radio's weird. Yes, RF guy, you know that. Radio frequency, he's obviously an engineer. Radio frequency is voodoo. And sometimes that if you're old enough to remember rabbit ear antennas, you remember standing on one leg, holding the rabbit ear sideways so that the TV reception's okay. You remember doing that, moving around, putting tin foil on the rabbit ears. The kids are going, what rabbit ears are you talking about? Well, kids, no, I've got, in the old days, you used to have these antennas on your TV that they call them rabbit ears because it had two rods sticking out. It looked like a little, Oswald mouse, and they would be long, and then you'd move them around until you got the right, reception. And if the I Love Lucy was coming in funny, you'd just move it around. Sometimes you'd stand on one leg. You move. Very famous story of Steve Wozniak, the founder of Apple Computer and a kind of prankster in his own right. In college, back in the day, that's exactly how the college TV in the basement worked. They had rabbit ears. And he had a little D-tuner he had built to keep in his pocket with a little knob that would change the frequency, would mess with it. And so he would get one of his frat brothers to go over there and get the antenna, and he'd wait till the frat brother was in the most awkward position possible and then tune it in so it's perfect picture. If the frat brother put his foot down, tune it out again. So his poor frat brothers are standing in contorted positions holding the antenna just so they could watch Rawhide. And therein lies a tale. 8888 ask Leo the phone number. That's how you get a hold of me. We could talk high tech. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Have you watched the 8 hours of the Beatles Get Back on Disney Plus? It's fun. One of the things I love about it, and of course I'm a Beatles fan. Peter Jackson, the director, guy who did The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, took I think it was 60 hours of film that was shot, hundreds of hours of audio that was recorded of the Beatles planning, to make their album Let It Be and record their concert and make a documentary. And this has never before been seen. He edited it all together, upscaled it beautifully. It really looks amazing in 4K, like you're there. But one of the things that's really cool is watching them from beginning to end write this song. It's fascinating. You hear the first chords, you go, I think I know what they're writing. Same thing with Let It Be. I think I know what Paul's coming up with here. Very cool. Very cool. 88, it's amazing. I'm thinking, what it made me think of is, of course, they were the Beatles. This is 1969, and because they were the Beatles, every move was recorded and photographed. But nowadays, that's true for everybody. 50 years later, everywhere you go, everything you do, every little breath you take is recorded somewhere and being saved for posterity. You could, in theory, do the same kind of documentary for anybody in 50 years. Oh, yeah, we got all his Instagram reels and tweets. We could put together a heck of a documentary. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. 8888, ask Leo the phone number. Back to the phones we go. Coming up, Chris Marquardt, photo guy, by the way, in just 10 minutes. Don, let's see if we can get him on the air from Southgate. I think you were muted, Don. Are you unmuted?
Yeah, I'm here. Leo,
Yay.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yay.
I get these photographs on my screensaver that I don't know where they came from. And at times, some look like advertisements.
Oh, that's not good. Now, let me ask a question. First of all, Windows or Mac?
Windows.
Windows. And the screensaver you're using came from where?
From my personal photos.
But it's the screensaver that came with Windows. It's Windows 10?
Yes, it came with Windows.
It's not a third-party screensaver.
No, it's not.
Okay. I am not, I have never used the screensaver on Windows, so I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that when you open it up, you get to choose where those photos come from, yes?
Yes.
And you're choosing a folder?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So the folder is your picture folder, right?
Right.
Yeah. So how would anybody else's pictures get in there?
That's what I want to know.
Have you looked in the folder to see if they're in the folder?
Yes.
And are they?
No.
No. Well, now you got me. Although you never know with Microsoft, it could be they are, in fact, including what kind of pictures are you getting?
I'm getting pictures of other people. Some look like an advertisement for a cookie or something, a candy.
Oh, man. All right. First of all, I want to make sure you're using the one that came with Windows. You didn't download and install somebody else's screensaver.
No.
For sure.
I'm using Windows 11 too.
Oh, well, okay. Boy, I wish I had a Windows 11 machine in front of me. That's my bad. I am thinking it's, I use, as an example, for my wallpaper, the Bing wallpaper, which gives me a new, wonderful Bing photo every day. But that doesn't have any ads for cookies in it. So I don't think that's where that's coming from. It should only be, I think that means probably that you've got some adware on your system that's smart enough to say, let's put it in the screensaver, which is actually, I got to give them credit. That's pretty clever. You shouldn't be getting anything that's other than the photos that you took in that folder, as long as you're using the official Windows 11 screensaver and it's pointed to that folder. And when you look in the folder, there's no ads for cookies in that folder. So that means something else is running on your system, and actually is now a little bit more cause for concern. I don't know enough about how Microsoft does that screensaver. If it's using, and it may well be, if it's using the Edge browser's libraries to render it, it could be your browser has been hijacked. So I would look first in your browser. Do you use Edge as your default browser?
No, I use Google.
Google Chrome. Well, look both in Edge, Open Edge, it's there even if you don't use it, and Google Chrome. Ignore all the requests from Edge to please make me your browser. They hate it when you use Chrome. And I would check and see that you don't have any extensions installed in either browser that look strange to you. That's not something you specifically want. That's the number one way that could happen. The number two way is just simply with something that was installed. And it's not unusual if you go to a free software site. They'll put up these check boxes and say, you want this and this and this, and you just go, yes, 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 yes. So look in Add Remove Programs and make sure that you don't have something else installed too. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, it's almost certain you've got some other thing running. The only question is where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Is there another screensaver I could
Oh gosh, yeah, there's a whole lot of them. But I want, and I'm certainly going to encourage you to try another one, but I first fix this problem because it could be a sign of a larger problem.
Okay.
So you definitely want to figure out, go to Add Remove Programs and just check that you don't have anything that, that says like super duper ad software in there. Okay. and then if it's not there, you might want to check in your browsers just to make sure there's no browser extension. The only reason I mention that is I know it's not a browser, but sometimes Windows will use the Edge rendering machine to render images, and I'm not sure it's not doing that. As for Windows 10 third-party screensavers, there's a million of them. There's even an open source one that everybody seems to really like a lot. It just depends what you want. My favorite is called Electric Sheep. Depends. What do you like in a screensaver?
I like to have my pictures displayed.
Oh, yeah, you want sorry, never mind, because Electric Sheep doesn't do that. It's more like psychedelia. I love it, though. Let me see for a Windows photo. Yeah, your picture. Yeah, you know what? You should fix this. That's all you should need. It's already built into Windows. We got to fix this anyway because we want to make sure we get rid of whatever that is because who knows what else it's doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So don't download an anti-spyware tool. I think you can just do this yourself. Just it won't be malware. It will be adware installed either as a standalone program or as an extension. And it might even be look in the screensaver settings and make sure it's completely possible, by the way, for a program to install new screensavers on your system and make it the default. Wow. And it's possible that instead of using the Windows, provided your photos screensaver, you're using the Mrs. Fields cookies screensaver that is interleaving your photos with cookie advertisements. So look, that's another place to look is in the screensaver settings and make sure you're using the official Windows one, not some other one that may also have been installed by. Do you ever download free or shareware programs from places like Softpedia or downloads.com?
Yes.
Yeah. So you got to really be careful because you'll see that downloads.com, for instance, will encourage you to download their downloader. They'll pop up a lot of windows that says, oh, would you like this tool and that tool and that? And you have to really carefully say, no, these are dark patterns. They kind of, think you're just going to say, okay. And then they'll install stuff. And they may have installed the Mrs. Fields cookie screensaver. I don't think it's malware. It's malware. It's just adware.
Okay.
So check those three places. Browser extensions, you always check those anyway. Add remove programs. And now, come to think of it, check the screensaver control panel. Make sure you're actually using the official Windows screensaver, not something else.
Got it. All
okay?
Right.
One of those will surely fix the problem. I'm convinced. I know it will. Our Tech Guy Show brought to you this week by UserWay. Big fan, as you know, of UserWay because, well, I've been really sensitized to this issue of accessibility doing the radio show for years. We have a lot of blind listeners. They love radio because it's accessible, right? But then they go on the internet, they visit maybe your website, and suddenly they can't see it. There's empty places where pictures are. The nav menus are unintelligible. And the worst thing, maybe if they want to buy something, the shopping cart, the forms, they can't use those. That's why UserWay is so important. UserWay wants to make every website in the world without exception accessible. In fact, that's the law. Domino's Pizza found that out when they said, oh, we don't have to make our website accessible. We got a phone number. Just call the number. We'll get you a pizza. Fought that one all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, what did they rule? They said, no, that's called separate but equal. That's not okay. As a public entity, you have to be accessible. That's the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA. Domino's set up, took notice, remediated their site. Now everybody in the world, certainly in the U.S., is making sure their sites are accessible. It's a federal law. It's a little challenging if you own a website. You might go, gosh, how much that's going to cost? Well, let me tell you about UserWay. They have an incredible AI-powered solution that tirelessly enforces the hundreds of web content accessibility guidelines with one line of JavaScript. That's all. You put one line in. Of course, it pulls in other JavaScript, but that one line in your site fixes your whole website. It can achieve more than an entire team of developers, and it does it all automatically. Using AI, machine learning, UserWay is used by over 1 million websites, including some of the biggest websites in the world. Coca-Cola, Disney, eBay, FedEx, Walmart, all use UserWay to make their sites accessible to the 60 million Americans with disabilities. It's not just the right thing to do, it's the law. Now UserWay is making those best-in-class enterprise-level accessibility tools available to small and medium-sized businesses. And, of course, the beauty is when you scale, as you get bigger, don't worry, UserWay can scale with you. If they can do it for Disney, they can do it for you. An accessible and compliant website, not just the right thing to do, it also makes business sense. Because those people want to be your customers. You know, you're turning away customers. UserWay automatically generates image alt tags, writes the image descriptions for you using their computer vision. It'll remediate complex nav menus so that people who use a screen reader or other kind of accessibility tools can navigate your site. It ensures all the pop-ups are accessible. It fixes vague link violations, fixes any broken links, makes it possible for your users to customize your site. See, every browser has this accessibility layer. Screen readers use it and other tools. UserWay makes sure that accessibility layer has all the information it needs, and you'll get a detailed report of all the violations that were fixed on your website. Simple to use. It works everywhere. WordPress, Shopify, Wix, AEM, Sitecore, SharePoint, even on custom sites because it's just that line of JavaScript in there. Tell you what, go to userway.org, check out their free scanning tool to see if your website is ADA compliant. It may be. If it is, kudos. If it's not, well, listen to Susan Bennett, the voice of Siri.
UserWay is trusted by more than 1 million websites and 60 million users with disabilities. Visit userway.org to learn how one line of code can make your website accessible.
UserWay can make any website fully accessible, ADA compliant. With UserWay, everyone who visits your site can browse seamlessly, customize it to fit their needs. It's a great way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. Go to userway.org/twit. Right now, it's very affordable to begin with, and we're going to add an even better deal, 30% off their AI-powered accessibility solution. UserWay, making the internet accessible for everyone. That is a mission I can get behind. userway.org/twit. We thank him so much for supporting the Tech Guy Show. And now back to the Tech Guy.
You have the
It's time for the photo guy. Chris Marquardt's here. He is my photo sensei at sensei.photo, SENSEI.photo. He's also a very accomplished photographer. And as it turns out, our particular coach on this show. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Leo.
You are always an inspiration to get me out there taking pictures. I owe my expensive habit. I owe it all to you.
It's all my fault. Well, do you go out at days like this? You told me earlier.
It's kind of rainy out.
A bit of a gray, rainy, not so nice day. We have the exact same thing today here. So yeah, gray days. It's one of those situations where you don't feel like going out and shooting, but interestingly enough, that's where it kind of begins becoming interesting.
Yeah.
So this,
I might just stay inside and take a picture of
inspiration-
my Lego figures if that's okay.
Well, it's nothing wrong with that, but the inspiration for what I want to talk about today comes from real life events, because we've been out for a walk today, and it has been one of these days where you go, yeah.
Don't you worry about your phone, or it's not pouring? It's just gray.
It wasn't pouring. It was just gray and a bit misty and cold and wintry and, well, the northern hemisphere weather in December.
Yeah.
So and I did take my phone to take pictures. I wasn't brave enough to bring. Well, the camera wouldn't really have suffered, but it was like, yeah, it doesn't feel like it. And then I saw interesting things, and it gave me the idea to talk about shooting at gray days with whatever camera you have, and a few things that you want to maybe look out for, a few ideas how to make that into something interesting. And the first thing that comes to mind is a gray day like this. You have a severe lack of contrast. Everything is kind of gray. Everything is dull. The sky is boring. But the whole thing can actually be great because it places a bit of a limitation on you, and makes you think a bit harder, makes you try a bit harder to do things. So misty, foggy days, there was a bit of that today. And a few of the examples I have are just like wonderful. Look for the light. That's always good. The mist will simplify things, visually simplify things. It'll take out the background. If you have interesting light coming in, maybe through a few branches in the forest. We did the walk today in the forest, so that's why I was reminded of that. Just be aware that the misty weather will take away some part of the background, so it will simplify the scene, and that's what we photographers usually strive for. We want to simplify things. We want to take clutter out of a picture. So in that case, nature does it for us.
These are so pretty.
Also,
for people who are not seeing the video, of course, it's a radio show. We'll put a link to all of these at techguylabs.com, because some of these are it just shows you can get great photos on a gray day.
Exactly. Here we're looking at a scene with trees and a foggy background and a person standing there. It's a bit of a silhouette situation.
It adds
And
some mystery
again,
to it. It makes it kind of. There's more of a story here.
It is, and it simplifies the whole scene. That's, I think, the main point for me. And as soon as you start hiding things, as with things in the dark or in the mist, you add mystery, and that, as you said, it adds a story, and that makes it important, or it forces people to come up with a story in their mind. Another thing you can do with these kind of scenes, they tend to go a bit monochrome. There might be a color photo, but you end up with, well, it's not colorful, it's gray. That's why we call it a gray day, is playing with colors. So play with white balance, add a bit of blue tint to the photo by going towards that cool side of the white balance, or give it a greenish tint or something. That's a great opportunity to play, because you have a simplified color palette as well, and adding some color there just by playing with these sliders in post-processing or in your Photos app. It's fun. It's fun to play. It's a lot of fun to play. The other thing is it's winter, so there might be snow, which simplifies the landscape even more, because it covers up all the detail on the ground with a white sheet. A great thing that you can do then is just find a strong subject, a big tree, for example, like in this picture, that will stand out, because there's nothing really distracting from it, because the rest is just simplified again. Here's an example. I love this. Someone just went to a forest, shot upwards through the trees, and there's birds in that hole in the sky. So even though the sky is not that interesting on a gray day like this, there is an interesting subject. And adding color, again, this photo here has a warmish touch, which is kind of counterintuitive, because you would think it's cold, it's gray, you might want this a bit more bluish, but this gives it an interesting twist, I think. I like this a lot.
It's really neat. This is inspiring because people sometimes look out the window and go, well, there's no photos to be taken today. And it's quite the opposite.
Yeah. Right, and again, and it's not even a bad thing if you have a lot of space left over in the photo.
Look at this. You can hardly see anything.
you see a building with a reflection, so there must be some water there, but then half of the picture is empty. Just imagine making that into a greeting card and using that space on the left to just put some copy on, some greetings or something. I mean, that's just. This is an idea that gets interesting. And if you have a really boring sky, leave it out. Leave it out. Don't even show it. Just point the camera downwards at some details. And that's the next thing on a gray day. You might want to look at things on a more detailed level. Here's one of those beautiful shots where I think someone shot this through a windshield. So you have all these water drops on a windshield early in the morning. The car is covered in these drops and the camera focuses on the drops, but then there's something like a tree behind it, which changes the whole dynamics in this picture. Turns into a bit of a mosaic kind of thing, which is beautiful. Or going really close. That might be a great day, but there's spider webs out there. If you're up early, if you're an early bird, that's a great opportunity to find spider webs or branches with drops of water, morning dew hanging off of them. So those details are plenty of fun. And then last but not least, of course, why not go abstract? A great day will allow you to work with just moving the camera with a longer shutter speed, getting some autofocus, getting some camera shake in there deliberately, and just see what comes out. So that's just a few of the examples of the things that you can do with gray days and become, really, really interesting.
I really like them. So here's the thing. You're listening on the radio. I suggest you go to techguylabs.com. No charge, no sign up. We'll put a link there to all of the pictures he's talking about. Now re-listen to Chris's segment, looking at them because they're so beautiful and there's a lot of inspiration there. Maybe inspiration enough to get out and participate in our photo assignment, right?
The lazy assignment is up right now.
Don't be lazy. Take a picture that illustrates the word or concept lazy. This is actually, if it's a gloomy day where you are, a perfect day to do that. At least the kind of lazy I am. Go take that image. If you like it, upload it to our Flickr group. Flickr.com is a photo sharing site. Our group is called the Tech Guy Group. You can do one picture a week. In a couple of weeks, Chris will pick 3 to talk about. It's just an excuse to get out and take some pictures. Thank you, Chris. Sensei.photo is his website, SANSEI.photo. And, of course, his podcast, Tips from the Top Floor, at tfttf.com. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. Oh, are you here next week?
Let me check.
Because the 19th is going to get looked a lot like Christmas. Because I won't be here. Okay, you could take the 26th off, obviously. Boxing Day. Who works on Boxing Day? No one does. And then I will be here on January 2nd.
I should be here too. Yeah, I'll be here on the 2nd.
We'll see you on
That's not a problem.
Next week and then the 2nd.
Exactly.
Perfect.
And next week, by the way, is the day after the James Webb Telescope launch.
Oh.
I have that calendar.
That'll be fun. I'm sure Rod Pyle will be talking about that next hour in our space segment.
Very cool. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'll stay on and listen to that.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Doop, doop, bobby doop, doop. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. Ryan on the line from Pittsburgh, PA. Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Good. I haven't talked to you since pre-COVID, so it's good to talk to you.
There really is now a demarcation, pre-COVID and post-COVID in the world. It's
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that really is a dividing line. And we aren't quite post-COVID, I might add. But it's definitely the world before March 2020 was very different. What can we do for you?
Understood. I have a couple of questions for you. Most of them have to do with cell phones. Probably one of the two big questions that I have. Number one is one of my sons is a dual language major.
Oh, nice.
Close to your heart.
What languages?
And Spanish and French.
Nice.
So he will be going to Spain, hopefully, knocking on everything. He's tried to go twice with school. They both got canceled. So he should be going July-ish. But my family is on Cricket. I actually am a Mint Mobile customer, thanks to you.
Good.
How
do you like it?
But I love it.
Yeah, it's a good price, right? Yeah.
1,000 times better than I thought.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I think
not ideal for international travel, because one of the things, Mint Mobile, which is an MVNO of T-Mobile, T-Mobile is good for travel. In fact, I have a T-Mobile phone specifically for that purpose because they give you bandwidth everywhere you go. My favorite travel carrier is
basically my question.
Yeah, is Google Fi. It works best on a phone from Google or one of there are a number, Samsung and Motorola also make Fi compatible phones. Fi is quite clever. It uses, it used to use Sprint and T-Mobile. Obviously now that's just T-Mobile. And it also uses US Cellular and Wi-Fi. And so the phone has to be specially built so that it can seamlessly switch from one to the other. But in the U.S., that has the advantage of giving you more towers, which is great.
Right.
But Fi also is good because it's essentially the same price in Europe as it is here, which is a fairly reasonable price. The way Fi's pricing works is $20 a month for voice and text, unlimited both. Now, you will pay for international calls, but it's not expensive. You can look up the price of Spain to the U.S., for instance. And then the $10 per gigabyte up to 6 gigabytes, and then it stops. But that's the same internationally. So when I travel, I take my Pixel 6 with Google Fi. I don't even think about where I am. There are a few countries, when we were in Monaco a few years ago, it didn't work at the time. But we were so close to France and Italy that it didn't really matter. Eventually, now I think Monaco is covered. So they have to make deals with all the carriers in those areas. But I think if you want a phone that works in the U.S. and will work the same overseas, Google Fi is a great way to go. And the Pixel 6 is a great phone for that.
Yeah, I mean, I have to tell you, he is not overly tech savvy. He's had an iPhone for forever.
Oh, he wants an iPhone. It will work with the iPhone, by the way. It will work with the iPhone.
Okay.
Not as well.
We have a 4-line deal with Cricket, unlimited, $100 for 4 phones as long as you own them. I'm thrilled with that, and he's only going to be there for 3 weeks. So I was curious if there was more of like a buy a SIM card.
Yeah, and I can give you the old way we used to do this. This has changed my life though to have Google Fi because I used to again BC. Sure. I used to travel a lot. And so I didn't have to ever even think about it. I just take my Fi phone and I'm good. Cricket, I don't know, but I suspect they're an MVNO of AT&T. I would guess it's similar, even though they're owned and operated by AT&T, it's similar to Mint in the sense that going international, you don't get the same deal as AT&T customers get. So you might check to see what Cricket offers. But generally, the U.S. carriers are not the most economical way to. If he's going to be in Spain for a long time, how long is he going to be there?
3 weeks.
Oh, it's a short trip. Well, Fi would work. You could get a SIM. Let me direct you to a wiki that is really the best place to go for this, which is called Prepaid with Data. If you Google that, you'll get to the very long URL, which is prepaid-data-sim-card.fandom.com. But it's the prepaid, just Google prepaid with data.
I got you.
It gives you every country in the world, and it tells you who the carriers are, what their costs are. In most countries, like Spain, you arrive at the airport, there is a little kiosk there. Sometimes it's the post office. It just varies in the countries, and this will give you that information, where you just say, good, I want a Spanish SIM. Now, the negative is that he's going to have a Spanish phone number. And for a short trip, that's a little inconvenient because you still want to be in touch. But the nice thing now, the other thing that's changed over the years is the EU has new roaming rules that mean every carrier has to provide the same price in every other EU country. So you could really use any EU SIM. But if you want to use, and so that's good news if he's going to Spain and France, for instance, then he doesn't have to worry. You could use Orange, which is the French carrier, or Movistar, which is the Spanish carrier. It wouldn't matter.
I travel for work often. I'm with Verizon, so whenever I'm in Vienna or Slovakia, Bratislava, wherever, they just flip a switch and it's an extra $10-15 a month, and I'm covered.
Yeah, that's not bad.
When it comes to my family, I just don't know what to do. So that was very helpful. Yeah. I got one more question for you, and it's based on Android. And the only Androids I've ever used is Pixel, which I love.
Yep.
But my other son uses. He's very much a pain. He's kind of like your daughter. He breaks phones a lot, and he's so in love with the.
How do you know that about my daughter? Oh, I've mentioned it, Ben, 100 times.
I listen to you all the time.
My poor daughter.
So he is in love with the Samsung Galaxy S8 Active, but it's starting to get a little long in the tooth. And if you go out there and just Google like rugged Samsung or rugged Android phones, you'll get about 1 billion different ones.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where to begin.
You know, it's funny. Somebody called yesterday and asked about a phone I'd never heard of. It's from a Dutch company called Zeekr. And they make a $300 or $400 super rugged phone, the Zeekr P10, that is drop proof. It's IP68. It's like crazy. Probably not a great phone, but a great phone to drop.
Sure.
And a fairly reasonable price. Amazon's, I think, overcharging for it. I think it's $430. But if you shop around, I think you can get it down under $300.
So I was going to say he drives for DoorDash for his job. He's one of those gig economy kids, and he keeps telling me I got to reboot my phone after every third call or every fourth dash, and I'm thinking, good gravy, your phone's getting long in the tooth. We can do better.
The other thing is maybe just get a Samsung Galaxy. You can get them a 10, 20, 21. One of the more recent Galaxies, and just get a really good OtterBox case. And I honestly think the OtterBox cases are as good as any ruggedized phone. Has he looked at OtterBox?
I'll say this much. I hear what you're saying. I will tell you he's on the spectrum, and he thinks what he thinks, and he likes what he likes.
Just like my daughter.
He doesn't have to have a case.
He doesn't want a case at all. Okay. The Zeekr is basically a phone with a case built in. I mean, that's what it is, essentially.
Exactly what I want.
Yeah, Zeekr, Zeeker. I don't know anything about it. It was the first I'd ever heard of it yesterday. The reviews are fairly good, and it's designed to be rugged. There's a Tech Radar review you could read that says it's not bad. Performance isn't great. I bet your son doesn't really care about that.
No.
He doesn't want if he's using an S8, he doesn't care if it's the fastest phone in the market.
Exactly.
Yeah. He just wants it to be reliable and drop proof.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think this might be a good choice. Just at least give it a try. I think I might get it for Abby next time. I buy her. I am able to convince her to wear a case. Although she has this thing, and I don't think it's true, but she swears, the cases you give me press the buttons so that my phone is like always doing something weird, like turning itself up or it won't work properly. I said, honey, how could that be? People sell these cases. It can't, but she says, no, I swear. So that's a similar issue. So I have to find just the right cases. But I get her the Motorola G series phones, which I think are very, very good as well. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, space. In a little bit, we're going to talk with you, Rod Pyle, right? About space?
Sir.
Yes, sir. He's ready. The Webb telescopes launching into space. We'll talk about all sorts of stuff. Yeah. The mystery hut on the moon.
Not anymore.
No mystery left. Sorry to say.
Well, we think.
Coming up.
Yeah.
8888 Ask Leo. I love it when Rod comes in early because I like to talk space. I just found I didn't realize in the books that you sent me, one of Rod's books is called Blueprint for a Battle Star. I love this. The space science in some of the sci-fi. Wormholes, battle stars. Even has how to build a death planet of your very own. So, Rod Pyle coming up in just a little bit. Meanwhile, we'll keep taking your calls, talking about Tech 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Rob in Riverside, California. You're next. Hi, Rob. Hello, Rob. I think Rob is a breather. He's a breather. I'm going to put Rob on hold and let you talk to him, Kim. Ben on the line from Escondido, California. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Leo. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Appreciate the call.
Well, maybe Rob fell asleep. You think that was snoring? I bet it was. Wake up, Rob. Anyway, what can I do for you, Ben?
I have a Synology 1515 hooked to my desktop computer.
Me too.
And I bought, yeah, I knew you did.
Yeah.
And I have I just purchased a new computer, and I want to hook it up to my Synology, but I'm concerned that I have 3 external SD drives because I travel a lot with my laptop. And I'm concerned that with the new computer, the drive addresses will wipe out for example, C, D, and E that are existingly being...
No. You don't have to worry about that. But let me ask you about, generally the way you want to use a Synology is not hooked directly to a computer, but on your network. That's how
it is. It's hooked through my network.
Oh, good. All right. You can hook it up as a USB drive, but you would do that when you were first copying everything over just to do that quickly. But generally, a Synology just sits connected to the Ethernet, connected to your router, so that it's available to all the computers. And in that case, it doesn't show up as a C, D, or E drive. It gets mapped using the network mapping drive, sharing protocols. In the case of Windows, it's SMB. And Mac might be using something else, but Mac has its own file system. Or it can use CIFS, which is the kind of the open source file system. But there are a lot of ways of doing it. But in no case will it interfere with the local drives. Your computer, Windows, Mac, Linux, is smart enough to make a distinction between a shared network drive and a local hard drive. So it shouldn't make any difference at all.
Well, I guess, Leo, what's happening is I have each one of my drives being backed up to the Synology. So when I go to the backup drive that says Synology, I get C, D, E, F, and so forth.
Yeah.
And each one of those are mapped. So if I hook the new computer up, I have a new C and a new D.
The new computer will map it as you specify. And it won't allow you to map it to a... So I'm not sure when you say mapping, you don't mean it. Do you mean it pops up on your disk on your desktop as a C drive, or that you're backing up your C drive to the Synology?
I am backing up all of my drives to the Synology with a label that's called backup when I go to Synology, and then when I double click on Synology, it says C, D, F, and G. And
that's just its own internal. And that's probably a name you gave it. I don't ever see that because I don't use Windows particularly. So for me, all the Synology names are just names. But in any event, it should not collide because it's really not C. It's something like Synology : //C. It's got a mapped name, and the fully qualified name is unique to the Synology.
Well, if I disconnect my existing computer and plug in my new computer,
you don't have to worry. You have to set it up. You may not remember when you had the existing computer and set it up. You set it up to back up to those drives. You will have to do the same thing with a new computer. It won't happen automatically.
Right, but when the new computer has for example, a D drive, which has different data than the Synology D drive, won't that mess it up?
Well, it depends on what you set up. You can back up to the D drive, and it won't erase anything from the D drive. It'll just add to it, which for most people is what you want with a backup. You kind of want, you have so much storage on a Synology, you're not really worried about deleting stuff. So it won't delete anything on the Synology unless you specifically say synchronized deletions, which is not the default and is not what you should say. You want to keep everything. You never want to delete anything from the Synology. So in that case, it'll just say, oh, more stuff for D, and copy it over. Or you can give it a new name if you want. You could say new computer D.
Okay, so the 3 external SD drives that I have plugged into my USB port now, when I plug them into the new computer, will they back up the same?
That's different. Of course, those drives, will they back up the same? No, you'll have to set it up because though you plug those drives into your new computer, they may or may not have different. This is really the real problem here is Microsoft's, and it goes back to the days of DOS, naming drives C, D, E, F, G. That's just nuts. No modern operating system, including Windows, does that. But because Microsoft will never leave anyone out in the cold, they continue to, show those drive letters. That's a little confusing. I understand your confusion because a C drive on Windows on a computer A is not the same as a C drive on computer B. You're asking, is the Synology going to know the difference? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because the Synology is not, it's Linux. It's not going, oh, anything with the letter C is the same. It's not. It knows that's the C drive. The fully qualified name includes the name of the computer. So it's even if you name the computers the same, it wouldn't be because there's a GUID associated with it and would say, well, this has a unique ID that is not the same, must be a different drive, must be a different volume. They don't even think of it as drives. That's also a legacy concept. So short answer, plug in those external drives to the new computer. When you set up backup on the new computer, you'll have to say, back up these drives. You can say, back them up to the same place I was backing up the old ones in the Synology. I would do that. Why not? You already have most of the data on those drives there anyway.
Right.
Right? The main thing, and you'd have to really work to change this, the main thing to remember is backup does not synchronize deletions. Now, I know that's kind of a complicated thing. Backup means you never delete anything from the backup. You just put more stuff there. That's one of the reasons the Synology is so huge, is because you never delete anything. What you do not want to do is synchronize deletion so that if you delete something on the main computer, it deletes it on the Synology. That is not backup now. Now that's synchronizing. That's keeping 2 folders the same. You do not want to do that. That's the only time when you'd risk data loss. That. Yeah, of course you didn't.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't.
Yeah. So now it's basically you got a big bucket. And it's going to slop everything it sees into the big bucket. If you use the same name for those external drives, it'll go, oh, I already have that data. I'll just take whatever's different. And that's kind of what you want, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Leo. I appreciate it. Listen to you every weekend.
Good. My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for the call. Yeah. This is an example of where, Microsoft has, as part of its mission statement, I think, the desire of never leaving anybody in the cold, in the dust, and it's good. It's because they have so many business users using XP and maybe even still MS-DOS. I don't know, but because back in the day of MS-DOS, a very, 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 very primitive operating system, they didn't have remember that you only had 8 characters, .3 characters, things like that. They didn't have the capability of paying attention to drives by name. It was just by letter. And whatever drive booted on the machine, that's the C drive. Then the next drive it sees is the D drive. Then the next drive after that is the E drive. Remember that? Well, there's no reason for any modern computer to do that. That's nuts. Nowadays, on any modern computer, a drive can be named my big drive stuffed full of stuff that I don't ever want to lose .com or whatever. You can name anything you want. And that's how it should be. And that's how it is. But Microsoft, but what about those poor people still using MS-DOS? We got to make sure they can see it. So they still might, they do show C, D, E, F. That's silly. That's silly. You're right, R. Chandra. Very, very picky. He says, not so. If you booted from a floppy disk on A, C was still the hard drive. Okay, you're right. I forgot about floppy disks. But you know what? Microsoft didn't. No, they sure didn't. If you plugged in a floppy disk, it would still work. How are you today, Mr. Rod Pyle?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good.
My face looks like a bundle of flame.
We'll put you in the flame if you
Very
want.
homey. Oh, yeah, there you go. There's some people that would probably agree with that.
Put that head in the burning flame.
Yes.
You'd be like the Wizard of Oz, just floating there. Pay no attention to the man in the fireplace.
Pay no attention to that.
Or you'd be like
guy on the green screen.
The ghost of Christmas past.
Oh, somebody's invoking USMC on your chat. That must be somebody who remembers Gomer Pyle.
Gomer
USMC.
Pyle. You're no relation to Gomer.
Oh, God. But growing up,
it must have
just
been
imagine.
hard.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all have issues.
Showing my age, I think of Ernie Pyle.
Thank you. We like Ernie.
And the author of the Knights of the Round Table. What was his first name?
It was it was the artist, the illustrator.
Yeah, the illustrator. That was it. Yes.
Yeah. Howard
Pyle. Thank you.
Fine illustrator. And just about the time I got old enough that I'd gotten away from the whole Gomer thing, then Full Metal Jacket comes out with Private Pyle, who wipes out his sergeant.
At least you weren't named Mayo.
Lunatic. Yeah, there's that. But still, it's like, I just escaped that. And then suddenly now it's like, oh, Private. Yeah,
See, I think there's all these great illustrious Pyles like Howard Pyle and Ernie Pyle. And instead, you get Gomer. It just doesn't seem fair.
Well, it probably had something to do with my disposition as a young man growing up.
Did you say golly a lot?
No, but I was destined to be kind of not a loner, but
so were we all. We're introverts.
Out on my own. Yeah, that's why we do what we do, right?
We're introverts. Yeah,
it's to force ourselves to become extroverts.
Yeah. Was that why? I don't know.
Well, it was for me. I found that if you're working in the television business and you're an introvert, people tend to ignore you just fine.
That's really true.
Pretend you're an extrovert, and then eventually you become one.
Almost everybody in this business is introverted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Johnny Carson very famously would go to a party and sit in the corner and read a book.
Was he that introverted?
Oh, he was painfully shy. But, I also often wonder if it could, certainly in me, it's interpreted not as shyness, which it is, but as haughtiness, as snobbery, right?
Yes. That does happen.
You don't want to hang with us.
And then you have to work to get past that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think you're too good for us, don't you?
Yeah.
No.
Well, actually, I do. I did. And that was, they sussed that right away. So, you're too good for us. Yes, I am. Yes. That's why I'm not hanging out with you.
Honesty is a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
If I thought you were halfway as intelligent as I am, I'd hang out with you. All right. We'll talk to you in a few. I'm just checking your sound. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Rob on the line from Riverside, California. Hello, Rob.
Yes, sir.
What is up with you, my friend? What's going on?
Oh, I'm having trouble. I've got nerve damage in my hand, so I have a lot of trouble with touch screens.
Okay.
So I bought a Unihertz phone.
Oh, okay.
It looks a lot like the old BlackBerry Passport, but it's even a little bit bigger. And I had trouble with it. I'm not.
It's designed they say for people of all kinds. It's designed for people who, like you, who have trouble manipulating a phone, or who just love their old BlackBerry. Does yours have a keyboard?
Yes, it looked a lot like the old BlackBerry Passport.
Is it the Titan Pocket?
What was that?
It's called the Titan Pocket. Is that it? I'm looking at.
No, mine was the full size.
Full size. Oh yeah, this is a little one. This is kind of cool. In a day and age where all phones look the same, they make one with a watch on the back of it. They're selling that on Kickstarter. They make one that looks like a BlackBerry. Okay.
Yeah, the one that looked like the BlackBerry was the first one that I saw. It was on Kickstarter for a little while.
It's cool. Yeah.
And I bought it. And like I said, I had trouble with it from day one.
Yeah.
And I kept calling them, and they finally said, "Look, do a factory reset."
Yeah.
So I did that, and I'm now the proud owner of an inert chunk of plastic.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
AT&T says they're not going to support it next year anyway.
Oh, it's a 3G radio.
It's a 5G.
But AT&T says no anyway?
Yes, we're not going to support it.
Well, there must be something about it that, maybe it's not. I mean, who are these guys anyway? Who is this Unihertz? Who are they?
Some Chinese
company. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're getting all of the support you would expect from a company that doesn't speak English, basically. And by the way, almost all of our phones these days are made in China or South Korea or Taiwan, or they're made in Asia. So, I mean, I don't want to sound, like I'm against Chinese manufacturers because my iPhone was made there. But I don't know who, this company, obviously they don't have a commitment to excellence. They're from Shanghai. So what's the question? Is there a way to resurrect it? Is that what you want to know?
Suggestions.
Yeah, I think you're out of luck.
They're saying, hey, you had it, almost a year.
Yeah, that's all we expected.
What's the problem?
Yeah, I don't know what the answer would be. It's a good word of warning for anybody who might be thinking of buying one of these phones. But I think this is not an unusual. You were talking about the Zeekr earlier. Who knows what the tech support is? If you're buying it, even if you buy a phone from Google, a company that is somewhat well known, Google's support is not the best in the world. So I don't think you can expect much from a company that was advertising on Kickstarter. I guess, let's see, what could you do? First place I'd go is xda-developers.com. This is a forum for Android enthusiasts. See if they have a thread about this phone. They may probably do. They have threads about almost every XD as in dog, .com, developers.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. xda-developers.com, and search for that phone. And if you don't find it, then leave a question, because if anybody has that phone and is having similar issues, they'll talk about it there. And mostly I recommend it because that's the place to go if you have an Android device that you would like to modify. Chiefly what they call rooting it, which is giving yourself administrator permissions on the phone and then putting some other software on there. This, if you have a bricked phone, for instance, this is the way to revive it, is to put new firmware on it. Now, you probably don't want to put their firmware on it. You could, but you may be, generally Android phones, this is running a MediaTek processor. It's probably pretty stock parts. So you may be able to put other third-party firmware on there, and it may revive it. May even turn it into a decent phone. But I'm not promising that. I'm just saying you're going to have to support yourself, because clearly this company, you got a year out of it. What do you want? What do you want, dude? They're not going to support it.
Well, it's just almost a year.
Almost a year. There is
and 9 months is almost a year.
There is another place to go. Thank you, Scooter X, in our chat room. There is a Reddit forum on it as well, the Unihertz Titan. So if you go to, I don't know if you're familiar with Reddit. It's a Condé Nast owns. It's a forum site. It's a great site, useful for this kind of stuff. Reddit, reddit.r/Unihertz Titan. Leave a message there too. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Sure. Yeah, at least there's other Titan users there. Here's one guy saying, "I've had a Titan for a few months, and I've always had a problem."
Sounds familiar.
Here's one. Is there any alternate operating system for the Titan that preserves? So that's the question basically you're asking. You've got a bricked Titan. You could leave a message there. My Titan bricked, and is there any way I can get it back to life? And at least you're talking to probably every one of the other Titan owners there's in here. It's not super active, but at least there's a shot. The most recent is yesterday. So there is somebody in there.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. My pleasure.
You have a good one.
You too. Yeah, buyer beware, I guess, when you buy a phone from Kickstarter. Unihertz. It's Una and it hurts. Here's one. Chinese symbols on the screen. Does anybody know how to get rid of it? Too good to be true? AT&T compatible? Question mark. Anyone having issues with the message app? I mean, it goes on and on. This episode of The Tech Guy brought to you by, quite literally, CashFly. CashFly is our CDN, our content delivery network. When you download a copy of The Tech Guy Show, you're getting it from CashFly. They've been innovating content delivery since 1999. We've been using them practically since we started. We needed a solution because it was hard to get our stuff. CashFly solved that. Now they're taking the next step with their ultra-low latency streaming. We're not talking the WebRTC solution that's let you down in the past. CashFly streams have less than 1 second delay. They've got a great HTML5 player with an SDK so you can put in support anywhere, mobile, websites, applications, any platform. Because they are a completely global CDN, they've got the fastest CDN for throughput globally with over 50 points of presence distributed all over the world. Your video streams will be streaming quickly anywhere that you have viewers or users, wherever, whatever continent they are on. And man, does it scale. CashFly's ultra-low latency video platform can deliver video to more than 1 million users concurrently, ingest thousands of synchronous streams reliably, RTMP, RTMPS, SRT. They can ingest it all and deliver ultra-low latency SLDP and HLS streams at the same time. Plus, you'll get a custom, and this is why we love CashFly, you'll get a custom-built solution based on your needs, your usage trends, your spikes, all built on top of their reliable, robust global network with ingest and delivery anywhere in the world you need it. And the best support, 24/7, 365, and I will vouch for that. We never have to worry about whether our streams are down because of CashFly. You would love this. CashFly's infrastructure can support more than 1 million concurrent streams today, 5 times faster than other CDNs because of their reliable throughput and scalability. And don't forget, it's the world's most reliable CDN with a 100% SLA. CashFly, they're giving away a complimentary detailed analysis of your current CDN bill and usage trends. See if you're overpaying 20% or more for your CDN. Right now, no pressure, just information. Go to twit.cashfly.com. We love them. We thank them for what they've done for us. twit.cashfly.com. Strongly encourage you to check them out. And now, thanks to CashFly, back to the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time to talk to our spaceman, Rod Pyle. I found it in my pile of Pyle books. I have one, you know. I've got Amazing Stories of the Space Age by Rod Pyle.
There you go.
I've got Interplanetary Robots, True Stories of Space Exploration by Rod Pyle. I have First on the Moon, all about the Apollo 11 moon landing by Rod Pyle. But this is my favorite, Blueprint for a Battlestar, serious scientific explanations behind sci-fi's greatest inventions. You're a prolific writer.
That's one word. Yeah. And that book was particularly fun. It was supposed to be, I think, how to design a Death Star. And then about 2 months before all the publication deadlines, Disney bought the Star Wars franchise and the publisher went, glurg.
Yeah, we're not
legal issues.
I don't mind if Lucas sues us, but let's, yeah. Well, that's good.
It worked out fine.
Yeah.
And it was,
Death from
but
Above.
It was a real blast to write.
Building a Death Planet.
Yeah, that was the other thing. We couldn't call it a Death Star anymore. We had to call it a Death Planet. And I just raised such a stink, but they said, look, there's nothing we could do. It's lawyers. And I said, okay.
Yeah, you did mention in the text that it's called the Death Star, so we know what you're talking about.
I snuck it in there. Yeah, like you weren't figuring it out.
I don't think that's a problem. I think it's
cool. But it was a kick and a half to do, and actually ended up kind of making some inroads into the STEM
curricula. For kids, because it's the kind of book a high schooler would go, I'm going to devour this and learn something by accident.
With pictures.
It's got pictures. So speaking of pictures, when are we going to get pictures from the new telescope?
Well, assuming everything goes great, which we're going to assume will happen because I don't like to curse.
Lately, it's been pretty good.
Months.
It's been a long time since the Hubble was needed spectacles.
Well, but don't forget that one of the retaining bands did its thing on the web a matter of weeks ago, but they took.
Did they fix that? Okay, so
yeah,
all goes well. December 22nd, the
22nd is launch.
James Webb Space Telescope.
Fly out 1 million miles and do its commissioning. Some of that it does on the way, some of it does after arrival.
Well, I'm going to think it's going to take a while to go 1 million miles away.
Well, there's that, and then the commissioning. I mean, you've got to unfold all those mirror cells for that 21 foot wide mirror, and you've got to then, the one we're all grinding our teeth about is those 5 or 6 layers of Kapton have to unroll below it, because there's a 600-degree differential between the sunlit side and the cold side, right? Which is why those things are so ingenious. That's if it's in the sun. It won't be in the sun most of the time, but those things have to roll perfectly. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, it works. And what's so great about this, besides the fact that it's huge and expensive, is it's observing in infrared. So, that allows you to see further and further back in time than ever before, because of course, as the universe expands, you get redshift, right? So everything's redshifted. So the oldest stuff is very red. So you want to see in red, plus red light, infrared light, travels through gas and clouds and so forth better. So the views we're going to get, some of the answers we're going to get from back, they're talking a couple 100 million years after the Big Bang. You're really kind of looking at a minute after midnight there.
That's really amazing.
Isn't it?
So we don't know what we're going to learn. If we did, we wouldn't have to learn it. But
that's right.
Potentially, there's they could learn. They could answer some questions like like how old. Well, we know how old the universe is roughly. We know it's expanding, right? That's been resolved.
I mean, if you see a giant godlike hand suddenly going,
that's not going to happen.
Then Well, who knows?
We might see a mystery hut. Now you intimated that has been debunked. Is that the case?
Well,
this was the Chinese. We talked about this last week. There's a square rock that the Chinese rover saw on the dark side of the moon. It's on its way over there at about inches a minute, so it's going to be a few months.
And it may not be a rock; it might be an outhouse. You don't know. But there are a couple of articles by prominent astronomers and planetary scientists who said, "Look, we can see this thing from orbit. We can't see it well, but we can see it, and looking at the region it's in, the kind of shadowing and all that, it's just a rock, okay?
It's just a rock, okay.
And the sort of intimation was that the Chinese agency or the people handling their PR, to be more specific,
it's good. It's
a little clickbaity.
Yeah, it's clickbait.
But it works.
It's good.
But speaking of not clickbait, we also had the third crewed flight of Blue Origin's New Shepard yesterday.
Did Michael Strahan go up in that?
Michael Strahan went up. Yawn. Very handsome guy.
You don't watch Good Morning America, apparently, because he's a TV guy and he's a football star. So
yeah. I watched both and yawn. But anyway, nothing against him. It's just, So
he's got a gap in his teeth. Cool. He's a funny guy. And
he's big. So he was like the tallest guy by a couple of inches.
Oh, I bet.
Fly.
Yeah.
10-minute flight, 65 miles again. These aren't going to be news for a lot longer, but Blue Origin's very clever because Strahan flew. The daughter of Al Shepard flew.
I think that's cool.
Mercury astronaut.
This spacecraft is named for Alan Shepard. It's called the New Shepard. He was the first U.S. man in space.
And she was wearing a Live Long and Prosper necklace commissioned by the Nimoy family shortly after Leonard Nimoy's death.
Oh, that's nice.
So they've got that rolled in.
Okay.
And then much more quietly, a great guy named Dylan Taylor, who is the CEO of a space investment firm called Voyager Holdings, but he also runs a publishing company, which I'm involved in a few projects with, and a nonprofit called Space for Humanity, whose goal is to raise money to let people from all different walks of life fly. So everything from people in the U.S. that can't afford it, which is most of us, to people in Africa, who really can't afford it, because Dylan has this idea that the more people understand this, and the more people get the quote overview effect, and Frank White, author of that, is also involved with this group, Space for Humanity, the sooner we'll realize we're all in this together. And it's a very aspirational goal, but it's rare that somebody in his position of a very high net worth investor says, yeah, I really want to put my life's work into this now.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool.
So
and then there are a couple of others, six people.
Who paid for the trip? Because I'm thinking some of them were just there for the publicity and for free.
Yeah, they never really say, right? So you have to kind of you have to vacuum that info up.
What
later.
about the Lane and Cameron Best, the first parent-child pair?
They paid, as I understand.
Yeah.
And she's a blogger. And
that's an expensive ride to bring your daughter on.
Well, it is, but if you've been doing real estate deals for the last 20 years or VC investments and making tens of millions of dollars, 250,000 a seat's not.
You think that's what it was? Is it? We don't know, do we?
Well, we don't know, but early days like this, I bet there are people getting discounts. But I'm guessing. I really am.
Yeah.
But this was the first flight of 6 people, so this is flying at capacity.
Okay.
Completely automatic. And I think one of the things that I'm amazed about this is, you talk a lot about Teslas, right? And their so-called auto drive capability.
Right.
That's 2 dimensions. This thing's got to go up into space and come back.
There's not a lot of traffic, though, and there's no stoplights.
There's not a lot of traffic, but there's a lot of computations to be done if something changes, like the amount of boost coming out of that rocket engine, for instance, or a thruster gets stuck or something like that. And obviously from the ground, they have manual control and it's not that far away, so they can joystick it if they need to, I suppose.
So, I mean, it's cool.
The fact that it works as well as it does just blows me away.
And so there we've got SpaceX, we've got Blue Origin, we've got actually a lot of private enterprises, and of course, traditional companies like Lockheed and Northrop doing this stuff for NASA. I think it's great. Blue Origin just got a contract from NASA to help design the space station. That's going to replace the ISS.
Yeah.
So this is exciting times for space, and that's why
it is a lot. And you could read all about it in Space 2.0, which is on sale for $5 on Amazon.
Wow! Thanks for the plug. Space 2.0. Look for it. That's Rod's book, or he also has the Ad Astra magazine with the National Space Society, NSS.org. Thank you, Rod.
Sure. Thank you.
$5.
Yeah. Well, for Kindle version.
Oh, well, that's good.
But that's still half off. Hey, I didn't get a chance to mention, though, in the next few days or week or so, if you feel like going out in the cold with a pair of binoculars, I guess you can see Comet Leonard about a half hour after sunset, just between Venus and the horizon.
All right. Just look below.
Which is nice because the last one, I've forgotten the name of it already, but the last comet, it took me like 5 nights to find it. It was faint and I was not in a dark enough environment. If you were really in the dark, it kind of looked like a fuzzy Q-tip out on the horizon. But this one's right between Venus and the horizon. So that one makes it
should be easier.
Easy to spot.
So if you've got a clear sky, and when is that?
The next 4 or 5 nights.
Next 4 or 5 nights.
Yeah.
And then John says he wanted you to talk about, what is it, John? Rocket Labs. Burning my fuse out here alone. What is Rocket Labs, John?
Rocket Labs, a company that's developing a kind of a small to mid-sized booster for smaller payloads.
Oh.
I don't remember. I think it's up to 10,000 pounds. And they've got a rocket called the Neutron. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. Which is getting some notice because it's working. And
made fun of SpaceX.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the scale is so different. But I mean, they're doing a lot of cool things. They're 3D printing a lot of components along with Relativity Space and other companies. So I don't know if there's something else specific you wanted to talk about, but they're coming along, and they're a company out in New Zealand that also they're co-founded in New Zealand and the U.S.
Love at First Insight. They launched 2 Black Sky vehicles. All right. Yeah. John loves space, so you know.
Well, that's why we love John.
Yeah.
And plus he makes stuff work.
And without him, I would be sitting at home in my jammies.
Would that be so bad, really?
Not really.
It's that time of year after all.
Last week they announced the Neutron Mega Constellation launcher. Oh. Wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
That's really cool.
More of that. I did also want to mention just real quick a story, which we could talk about next week. It's not that big a story.
I'm
but
sorry. You probably didn't even want to talk about the web at all, and I brought that up.
No, actually, I did. But there's this cool story out of the European Space Agency. So the Chinese Zhurong rover, which landed earlier this year in May, has exceeded its primary mission, and they want the orbiter to go do other stuff. So they changed its orbit. So the European Space Agency said, we've got a Mars orbiter. We can help downlink data from the rover if you need help. The Chinese said yes. What makes it really fascinating to me is it can only work one way. The orbiter, the European orbiter can receive the rover's uplink, but they can't transmit back down to the rover. So they've got this three-way dance going where info comes from the rover up to Mars Express, the European orbiter. They send it back down to Europe and China, and then China sends a command back up through the Chinese orbiter back down to the rover. And this wasn't planned. This is just something that they figured out how to do. And I thought, that's extraordinary, That
is amazing. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Okay. Remember, next week we're here. The week after we are not.
Okay.
It's Christmas, the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
But I am gonna do a show January 2nd.
Excellent.
Just so's you knows.
Thank you, sir.
And have a wonderful week.
You too.
Thank you, sir.
Soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ta-ta. Goodbye. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Thank you for letting me do my thing every week. I can't believe it. I'm so lucky. Thanks to Professor Laura, our musical director. Boy, she does a great job. Spinning the discs, choosing our music. Thanks, of course, to Kim Schaffer, who's answering all your phones. And thanks most of all to those of you who call and listen to the show, because without you, I'd be home in my jammies. 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number, 888-827-5536, toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. I think we have time for a couple more, at least. Darcy on the line from Canada. Hello, Darcy.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
It's a warm day. It's T-shirt weather. It's just above freezing. We're okay.
So patio weather, not exactly. Where in Canada are you?
Winnipeg, dead center.
Oh, Winnipeg. I remember Metallica saying that the coldest summer ever was their concert in Winnipeg. Coldest winter.
I would believe them for sure.
So what's up?
I have an update, an answer, and a question, all rapid fire.
Holy camole. Go ahead. Yes.
My update is on the Google Nest, using it as a baby monitor. I called in maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah, I remember.
Security.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's worked great, other than the fact there's no temperature readout, which some people like to see.
Like what temperature your kid is, or what temperature the room is?
The room, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're pretty confident in the temperature, but it does alert you when she rolls around.
Nice.
Talk to her. It's been fantastic. So if anyone has a newborn, don't hesitate to go with Google Nest. It works pretty well.
I like that idea. All right. So which Nest are you using? Because there's a bunch now.
The Nest Indoor.
Okay. It's a camera, not the Nest Hub Max, which also has a camera, but this is the standalone camera.
Yeah, just a standalone camera, the indoor one. It's worked very well. We just wall mounted it, ran a cord safely, and it's been working great.
And you can see your little baby on. Well, she's not a baby anymore.
No, she just turned 2 not too long ago.
Is she in a big girl bed? I remember that was a big deal.
We're holding off on that as long as we can, because once she can have access to the whole house at night,
it's troublesome.
Scary.
Well, we actually only did it once she learned how to climb out of her crib and do that. We thought, well, I guess it's time for the big girl bed. So,
yeah, we had a close call, so we just turned the crib around and tried to, hold it off.
Yeah, build the wall higher. Build the wall higher. So what can
for an answer? We had a person asking about the Google Nest outdoor camera, the doorbell camera. This is quite a few episodes ago. They're wondering about how cold it can get and still work.
Oh, yes.
I can tell you, minus 42 with the wind chill.
Holy moly! If it works in Winnipeg, it'll work anywhere.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, and it hasn't skipped a beat. I even have an indoor one in my uninsulated garage, and I mean, these things are beasts.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have the same Hello camera, but it doesn't get really. We might get a freeze once in a while. That's about it. Nothing like Winnipeg. So that's good to know.
I guess it's kind of a dry cold here, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they always say that. Oh, it's a dry cold. It's no big deal. It's just like a dry heat. It's no big deal. Yikes.
Much, yeah.
Yikes.
And then I have a quick question for you, if I have time.
Please.
My grandma has been dealing with vertigo spouts.
Oh, I'm sorry.
80-something years old.
Yeah.
She loves using the internet. She loves using her email and her Facebook and all sorts of stuff. She's really proud of it.
Sure, it stays. She stays connected. She stays part of the world, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But she finds that the computer screen can kind of make it act up. I was wondering if you kind of have any suggestions for, like, do they make overlays or maybe just turn the brightness down?
Let me think. Why would I bet it's the flicker. I don't know why.
She has a decent LED screen.
I'm not sure why it would. Well, LEDs flicker, believe it or not. I'm not sure why it would cause vertigo. So I'm not a physician, not an expert on that. But I know that I would think of a couple of things. First of all, check the lighting in the room. Make sure it is not, in fact, LED or fluorescent, because both of those do flicker. They flicker imperceptibly. They're at a rate most people can't see. Doesn't mean that won't cause problems. That might be a case for, if you could still find it, an incandescent bulb. And that's the thing. If it interacts in a weird way with the frame rate of the screen, that's when you might have problems. Try just having her turn the lights out and use it and see how that works. If that doesn't cause the vertigo, then maybe you want to think about an interaction between the lighting in the room and the screen. You said it's a good LCD monitor with LED backlighting.
And she's right by the window, so we try to use it.
Yeah, daylight should be okay. Yeah, daylight doesn't flicker, obviously. Unless maybe in Winnipeg it does. I don't know.
I hope not.
It might dim out a bit. What could cause? What about the screen could cause vertigo? I'm trying to think. Flicker, brightness. You said you toned it down. It could be. People often run their screens too bright. I don't know, because I'm not sure what the connection is between the screen and the vertigo. So
it could just be psyching yourself out too, but figured
certainly, and I will experience. I will get nauseated from playing video games because the motion of the screen, especially if the screen's big or it's a VR helmet and it occupies a lot of your vision, doesn't correspond to your position in space, and so your body goes, something's wrong. So I'm wondering, it could be related. The other thing, I do this, and I do recommend it. I've never had vertigo, but blue blocker glasses might help. I wear a special computer. I actually got my optician to create some glasses for me that I just wear at the computer. They're slightly magnifying, like readers, which I'm sure would help her. And they have a filter against blue light, a blue blocker. And that really reduces eye strain for me and makes it much easier to see the screen. Those you can buy off the shelf. She probably does wear glasses. So the next time maybe you get glasses, you should inquire about getting some computer glasses for her.
I'll tell you what, right after I end this call, I'm going to call her with that idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
It helps me a lot. I don't have vertigo, but it certainly helps me with eye strain. After looking at the screen for a long time, and it makes it much easier. The vertigo may be merely a side effect of her straining to read the screen. So helping with that would help a lot.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Good.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for the update, Darcy. Appreciate it. And congratulations on your little one. That's great. Last call of the day, Monty in Riverside. Hi, Monty.
Real quick here. I know you're on short time.
I got a minute and a half left. That should be plenty.
Okay. First off, got a large metal building. Got an AM receiver in it, and I get a lot of static out of my fluorescent lighting. Is there such thing? I should know this because I had an appointment for my novice ham ticket years.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I got stories on that one, but
You didn't. Yeah, take it you didn't make it, but you had already studied for it, so you know all about RF.
oh yeah, I had my key down, and so they were required.
Oh wow, you see nowadays you don't have to do Morse code.
Oh really?
Yeah, makes it much easier. I couldn't have done it if I had to do Morse code.
How's that go? Dot 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 dot.
So go to C Crane. I'm going to just give you the quick answer, which is ccrane.com.
C Crane?
CCRANE. Bob Crane owns it. He's a radio nut. And he is one of the last people in the world that still sells AM radio antennas, external antennas. You can stretch out the window or even just, it'll just boost the signal and it might overpower any noise you're getting from RF or the metal building.
Okay, that's a great one. CC Crane.
Just C Crane, CCRANE.com. And they're not expensive, and they're going to make a huge difference. An external AM radio antenna. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.